an established organization, or planning to launch a new business. Thank you.
Thank you. Row number 33. Row number 33.
Yes, sir. Sir, all the three session summaries were already
No.
read.
This one से fourth session Ravi Pandey sir only. आप
Ravi
थोड़ा
Pandey
conclude
sir.
करके कीजिए.
Okay.
ओके क्योंकि ऋषभ पर्सन भी ज्वाइन हो चुके थे. अब पांडे
Yeah,
सर शॉर्ट में करके बताइए.
Okay. Good morning, one and all. I'm presenting the summary of the presentation, How to Write an Action Plan for Startups and Related Concepts by Ravi Pandey. Ravi Pandey's presentation delivered on February 13, 2025, 4:30 p.m. provided a structured approach to developing an action plan for startups, highlighting key objectives, execution strategies, and the role of faculty entrepreneurial ventures. Began by explaining that an action plan is a step-by-step strategy that helps startup transition from idea to execution. He emphasized that a well-structured plan includes clear objectives, resource allocation, timelines, and performance metrics. Pandey stressed that startups should outline their goals in measurable terms to track progress and ensure adaptability in a dynamic business environment. We then explored the key differences between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. While entrepreneurs start their own business, taking full financial operational risk, entrepreneurs innovate within existing organizations, driving growth without bearing financial liabilities. Pandey illustrated these differences with real-world examples, emphasizing that both roles require creativity, risk-taking, and problem-solving skills. He also introduced PRFAQ, a technique widely used by Amazon as a valuable tool for faculty members. PRFAQ involves writing a hypothetical press release about a future product or service, followed by FAQs addressing potential challenges. Explain how faculty members can use this technique to validate research-driven startups, ideas, and communicate their vision effectively. The final segment Pandey discussed faculty startups, encouraging educators to engage in entrepreneurship by leveraging their expertise, research, and industry collaborations. He outlined key steps for faculty startups, including identifying commercialization opportunities, securing funding, building interdisciplinary teams, and partnering with industry stakeholders. Concluding the session, he emphasized that faculty-driven startups can bridge the gap between academia and industry, fostering innovation and real-world impact. The session ended with an interactive discussion where participants explored potential faculty-led startups ideas and strategies for implementation. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Morning session resource person has been joined. Ghosh, sir. So I request to row number 34. Please introduce Ghosh.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Good morning, and all. I, Dr. Chirakuddin Pinjari, on the behalf of UGC MMTC Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, I am glad to introduce such an eminent resource person of this session of STC on innovation and startups, Saikat Ghosh sir. Saikat Ghosh sir believes in bettering lives through business. Hence, as a co-founder of XLive, an organization transformation partner, he strives to help organizations strive for a balance between profit, people, and planet. Saikat sir has supported clients on their transformation journeys across India, Norway, Germany, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and Nepal. His clients include corporates like Ericsson and Apollo Hospitals, SMEs, and mid corporates like VIP and Aquaplex, startups like Coinex, ELTWT, and sustainable social enterprises like Avni, Designcraft, Bodhitree, and not for profits like BMGF, Reliance Foundation, Patch, Care Masum, Vecha, etc. Saikat sir has conceptualized and built the first full-stack enterprise solution of grassroots NGOs, Asara. He has also been instrumental in the creation of YONO, the support app of SBI, and many other innovations. Saikat sir is passionate about unlocking people potentials and has conducted leadership programs for bank, ICC Bank, Union Bank of India, corporates, Ericsson, Dr. Reddy's, Mahindra, etc., educational institution, IIM, Raipur, KG, Somaiya, Institute of Management, Studies and Research, Wellington Institute of Management, Incubation Centers, NSRCL, IITD, NGOs, Now Sahyog Foundation, and others. Previously, Saikat sir has been a consultant at McKinsey for 5 years. Through this, he brings extensive experience in the domains of strategy, change management, leadership, coaching, and organization culture. Earlier, he played an instrumental role in launching and scaling a rural retail finance business from scratch to a 700-person team of ICC Bank. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir. Saikat sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is a privilege to be here. Are you able to hear me well? Am I audible? Yes. Okay. Great.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So it is an absolute privilege to be, here with all of you. I hope and wish we could have done this in person because that is what I prefer. But of course, it is more efficient to do it digitally. And I hear that you are all going through this wonderful faculty development program, and my best wishes to all of you. I was not a sorry. Yeah. So I was not a great student, in spite of my professors trying very hard. So I have a lot of respect for everyone in this teaching profession, especially in higher education. And so, my respect to all of you. I think you're doing a great service to society as well. So I will start with this session. Is there, can I share a deck from my end? Is that possible? Yeah. Okay, I'll just go ahead anyways. Right. Let me know if you are able to see my screen. Okay. Just a few messages will also be fine on the chat if you're able to see my screen. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I want to check. There are actually a lot of you on the in the call today. Is it okay if we kind of do this session in English, or I can converse in Hindi? Yeah, I try because my mother tongue is Bengali. My Hindi may not be great, but I can try a bit of Bengali, Hindi as well. I understand Marathi to a certain extent. I'm not great at speaking it right now, but if English is okay, please, we can go ahead. If you want to converse in Hindi, if you want to ask questions in Marathi, I will try my best to respond to that, but you are most welcome to do that, right? So anyways, I will not get into the introduction about Exley because I think the participant before this did a great job of talking about a lot of things. So I'm not getting into this. My name is Saikat Ghosh. I'm a co-founder of Exley, and let's get into the session for today, right? I think we're talking about innovation, startups, and I think there is a question around design and human-centered thinking, right? And so today, what I thought that we can do in 90 minutes. 90 minutes is actually a very short time for any topic which needs to be got into a lot of depth. But what is probably important is that in 90 minutes, we just understand the true essence of the subject, right? So that will be our intention here. So the few things that I want to cover is, first of all, is what is design. Also, why should you be interested in thinking about design? right? Then we try to understand a little bit about what is design thinking and human-centered design. And finally, how does it make sense in education, right? And to really try to broach this topic a little bit, but we will try to keep this easy. We'll try to keep this as practical as possible, and we'll try to keep this a little fun, if possible, as well, right? But before we go ahead, it will be really good for me to know a little bit about all of you. So instead of going through, a lot of, introductions online, because that can take a lot of time, is it possible for you to maybe just drop a short message on the chat, just with, which is your discipline, right? That you're talking about, right? I mean, that you teach, or that kind of work in, if that is fine with you, right? So that I get a sense of who are there here. Okay, pharmacy, English. Okay, pharmacy. Management. Sports, lovely. Sports, public administration. Okay, got it. All facilities are from different departments of the university. Right, right. Perfect. No, I was just trying to get a sense of the audience, which, by the way, is very important from a design perspective, right? So can one of you just write down, any one of you who's willing to, what do you think design is? Just the word design, what does it mean? Anybody can take a crack. It doesn't have to be right, wrong, all of that. A concept, okay. Blueprint, okay. Yeah. Anything that we want to create. Great, yeah. I like the word create, plan, self-imagination.
Outline map.
Sorry?
Design is a outline map.
Outline map, okay.
Outline map for anything.
Outline map for anything, right, okay. Someone is written self-imagination, idea in immortal form, beautiful, okay, beautiful. How are you going to implement an idea? Wonderful. So one, we are talking about a blueprint, then we are talking about implementation, we are talking about imagination, approach to solving any problem. Fantastic, okay, great. Great. I think this is a very, very rich kind of set of responses, creativity, right? Very rich set of responses, because, in a way, we are all touching upon various aspects of design. And design actually is a bit of something for everybody, right? There is no one definition that we, kind of all understand. A plan to complete with success, right? So we come from a respective faculties, right? For example, if somebody is an engineer, they will think of probably design as engineering design, where we create like a blueprint, right? Whereas somebody who comes from, let's say, any creative world, they might think of design as something which is an extremely creative process, for example, right? So there are obviously many ways to look at this entire word, but it is very important to kind of start understanding it in a more simple way, right? So we'll go ahead. Thank you very much for this responses, okay? I'll just move ahead. So we'll talk about design today and how does it impact us. I think that is really important, right? Okay, so can you tell me what is there on the screen? What do you make sense of this? And you can open your mic and say, or you can chat and put in chat. How many of you are looking straight into your screens right now? You've got your noses stuck to the screen. A blank screen. Unidentified words, okay. Yeah, horizontal line, correct. Yeah, somebody could see some words, so I'm great. I think you have got great eyesight. Amazing, very tiny words, correct? All right. Blur word, right? So basically what is happening is that there was actually something written there, right? Even I can't read it, right? It was supposed to send a message, but you are not able to identify what it is. Somebody thinks it's a dot, somebody thinks it's a line, somebody says that, okay, I think there are some words, but I can't read it, or somebody thinks it's blurred. So this is a case of bad design, right? So keep this in mind, keep this small experiment in mind, and we will come back to what kind of design is, right? I'll move ahead, right? So this is very important what you see in the top, right? What Steve Jobs has defined this, and of course many people have defined this similarly. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works. So in the previous screen, maybe the font was beautiful, maybe the screen of the color of the screen was great and all of that. But if it was supposed to send a message to you, you did not receive that message, and therefore it does not work, right? So there is an idea of design coming in here, right? But let's look at, and we hear of design in many ways, right? I mean, there is product design, we hear about graphic design, user experience. In your line of job, you might, hear about instructional design. There's jewelry design, toy design, so many kind of design words that we hear quite often. So let's look at this video, and I'll play this video. I hope you are able to kind of hear this and see this, right?
That you don't even need the key to the padlock to open up the locker. You can go into literally everyone's locker and design this. Maybe the person who designed this playground slide is going to go down here and get hit this way, out this way, out. You get down the bottom, your whole body will be broken. This is a bike path in Hungary that is designed to see how good you are BMXing. One jump, two jump. Did you get to the end of this slide and broken your back? This definitely will have stairs. I genuinely don't know how these things ever exist. Why is there a door there? And it would be a good idea. The elevator. Okay, elevator that way. Elevator that way. People signposts in the drive. Yeah, I'm still following the signs. To get to the elevator, you've got to go upstairs. Are you kidding me?
Okay. Um, so what do you think of this? Now, what do you think design is? Anybody, anything different that you think about design now? Okay. Good design leads a bad misleads. Can you just explain that, rule 33, please?
A good design will lead you to some thing which you want to do, or which you want to achieve, or somewhere you want to go, or something like that. A bad design will confuse you. A bad design will make you end up in an utterly confusion.
Correct. Okay, great. Perfect. And I agree with that, right? It could be anything. Okay, design is the thing for which easy for implementation. Yes. So good. We are getting there, right? We are getting there now. So good. Now we'll just move ahead a little bit. Just see if my screen is visible to you. 1 second. We'll just have to reshare the screen, I think. Yeah. So you might have all seen this, right? These are some lights that we use during Diwali, right? And many times they get tangled up so much. It takes so much time to untangle them. किसी के साथ हुआ है? Has it happened with anybody? And and so here when you look at this, there is a problem with this design because it's making my life difficult, right? So design can be about the product itself, right? So there is something about the product that is not designed well. Design in this case, for example, if you remember earlier, we used to, I mean, some of you may have seen toothpaste that used to come in those aluminum kind of tubes earlier, where it used to get very, very difficult to take out the last bit of toothpaste. I don't know if some of you have seen it with your parents or yourselves earlier that we used to have to take everything out using a scale. But today, the kind of design of the toothpaste tubes we have, even the last drops come out very easily, right? Then ATM. Has it happened with anybody that we have put in the ATM card, taken out money, and then forgotten to take the ATM card back, right? And the ATM has got stuck in the machine, right? Now, again, it could be a potential design problem, okay? And we'll come to why. Have you struggled with an USB drive? I always struggle with this. If I have a USB, I always have to try twice before it fits in because I don't know which end will go in first, right? That's a problem with an experience that I have, right? The other thing is in WhatsApp, and I'm sure all of you use WhatsApp. In WhatsApp earlier, there was a problem. I mean, this was probably till about a year or 2 years back, maybe, when we used to, in a hurry, write something and maybe send it to the wrong group, right? And it's very embarrassing, right? And there was no way to do anything about it. But then, and that was an experience problem, that was a design problem. But WhatsApp as a company, they took that feedback, they got that feedback from the world, and they designed a solution to it, which was that, hey, now you can delete your message. You can either delete it for one person, two person, or yourself, or for everyone, right? It was in response to a experience problem that customers were having, right? Now I'll leave this to you. This is a classroom. You are all there in classrooms a lot of the times. Is there anything wrong that you see here? You can speak about it. You can write in the message, whatever you feel comfortable. I mean, except that there are no students, that's fine. But in the structure of the everything that is there anything that is catching your eye? Look closely. Come on, quick, 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 quick. Project. Okay. So, side screen, steps, chairs. So what is wrong? But so what do you think is probably not right? In one, there are steps in another plane surface for chair. Yeah. So those are two different pictures, right? It's just to give you a close up, but yeah, fair point. Black screen, seating arrangement. So what's wrong with the seating arrangement? Or what's wrong with the chairs? Somebody mentioned chairs. The seating arrangement. So what is wrong? There is no gap between chairs. I think that's a great point, actually. So that is not what I had in mind, but actually that is a good problem. So who is 65, roll number 65? If I can just see you or hear you. So if you can, because what I would like, if I would like to draw everybody's attention to what roll number 65 has written on the chat. He is saying that there is no gap in between the chairs. Now, why is this a problem?
Hello.
Yes. Yes, please. Yes, sir.
Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I don't know your
Yes, sir.
name, unfortunately, but yes, a great answer.
Yeah,
So, why do you think this is a problem, sir?
because when you see this design, to roam in between the chairs, there is no gap.
Correct.
So that is what I feel that is a wrong design. So we
Correct.
need a space, little bit space to go through in between the chairs, or to sit and to adjust yourself.
Correct. So basically, because there is no gap, students will find it difficult to come in and sit down properly and adjust themselves. And what else happens in a classroom like this where there is no space between the chairs?
There will be a chaos. Means everybody will be trying to sit in the front row only because they will be unable to get to the back.
Correct. So great observation, right? So
Thank you, sir.
students will be unable to get to the backside. They will be difficult to find it to enter into the inside rows, inside chairs, right? And there will be a lot of noise and chaos in the classroom when people have to do that, right? People will have to take their chairs back. There will be noise happening. That's a great observation. And I think the other bit, I think so. Thank you very much for that. I think the other thing that is wrong
Thank you,
here,
sir.
yeah, no, most welcome, sir. Thank you. The other thing that is a challenge is if you see the writing desks that are there, they're all meant for right-handed people. Do you see that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can say.
Yeah,
Yes, it's a
correct. But in your class, you will
right-hand
have
side.
definitely a few people, few students who are left-handed, right? Now,
Exactly.
how will
Exactly.
they use this?
Mm. That's a big problem.
Correct. So what you're seeing now is that when we are talking about design, and if you go back to what we had said here or what, Mr. Steve Jobs had said, right? Design it not just how it looks and feels, it is how it works. And who should it work for? It has to work for the user who is supposed to use it. It is not how it's supposed to work for the designer. And like we said, design can be anything. Design can be how you're designing your classroom. It can be how you're designing your learning program. It can be how you're designing the experience for students. It can be anything that we are designing. We are designing constantly. All of us are designers, right? But the changing the lens to say that who is my user and does it work for my user, right? So when we look at this classroom, and when you mentioned, sir, roll number 65, that there is no space, it is a problem for the student who is a user. It is also a problem for the professor who's a user, because the professor will get constantly disturbed by all the noise and the chaos. So what is very important to understand is that whenever we are talking about design and this design mentality, it is about thinking from the user's perspective and not from my perspective if I'm the user, if I'm the designer, right? So that is one point I would like you to kind of keep in the back of your minds, right? So let's move ahead slightly. Now, there are 5 things that you see here, simple. Now we will go one by one, and I want to understand from you on the chat, or you can open up and say if you think this is a good design or a bad design and why. Okay, so let's start with the Airbnb example, right? There's just a screenshot that you can see of the way the app is designed, right? So I want you to type out whether you think good design or bad design, right? And any reason that you want to give, okay, in the chat.
I'm reading books.
So Airbnb. So right now we're talking about the Airbnb example, right?
ಬಿ
Not the
ಮಾಡಿದಾನೆ
Figma.
ಸೌತ್ ಏಷ್ಯನ್ ಯಾಕ್ರಾನ್ ಬಿ ಬರ್ತಾನ ಮಗ
Cups are not good. No, okay, I'm talking about the Airbnb digital screenshot right now. Okay, just write Airbnb, whether you think it's a good design or a bad design. And remember who is the user. Okay, very quickly. There's no right or wrong answers. It's your perspective. So quickly type out, please. If the question is not clear, please let me know. So how many of you think the Airbnb screenshot that is there, the design of the Airbnb screenshot, okay, right? So is that, good or bad in your mind? So somebody, roll number 65, for example, has said it's a bad design, right? Similarly, anybody else has any views on whether it is a good design or a bad design in your perspective, nobody else's perspective, just your perspective. You can open up your mic and talk about it as well. So it's okay, not that bad. Okay.
So if you see the screenshot, it's Airbnb, but it's nothing written whether it is of a company or whether it is of an app, or the user are confused what exactly this screenshot wants to say.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
if I am a user, I'm unable to find out what is exactly this.
Yeah.
For what this is. So that's why I think this is a bad design, whatever it is.
Okay. Very, very good reasoning, right? Because as a user, you feel that you will not be able to trust this particular app because I don't know who is it coming from. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Right? So wonderful. So that's a very good reasoning. Okay. Now, I think roll number 18 had said it's okay. So, okay. So do you want to just explain why you think it's okay?
Yes, sir. It's okay because I feel, in my personal perspective, that Airbnb, just like another some app, they have the name or the title which is unknown to everyone. They have some uniqueness. So I think for the uniqueness purpose, they have taken this to attract the people. What is in inside, so people can click on that board, so directly they can enter.
Okay, great, great, great. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Right. Okay, so let's think about the Vande Bharat train. Okay, so can you just type out, everybody, what you think? Is it a good design, bad design? And if you can give your reason, great. Or you can speak about it.
It's a great design, sir.
Okay, so I will ask you to hold your thought, roll number 65. Thank you for the response. But I want some other people to, thanks for saying great design. Anybody else who thinks it's a good design or not a good design? So there are very few responses coming in. So are people left, or you're thinking? Okay, great design. Roll 14, wonderful. It's an old design. Okay, okay. By the way, roll number 18. This train used to be called Train 18 initially. Before Bande, it was named Vande Bharat. Okay, good design, Indian structure and speed oriented. Okay, great. Roll number 16. Thanks for that. So think about it. But type out quickly because it's either a good design or not a good design in your mind. Or not sure. Because only when you are able to, when you exercise your mind to think and look at everyday things and understand the design behind it, will you be able to go back and design your own things much better. right? So therefore, it is very important to react and understand what you're thinking about it, right? And understand different perspectives around it, right? Old and new design. So what does that mean? Rule number 23, old and new design.
So some pictures seems to be in older fashion, and some of the means the train picture that seems to be a new one.
Yeah. So my question really is that it's not about the picture, that Vande Bharat train, th that design, do you think it has been designed well or it has not been designed well, the Vande Bharat trains?
But I can't give an explanation about it, but what I have seen, I have just explained it, sir.
So sorry, I don't get that. Are you aware of the Vande Bharat trains? Okay, so okay, inner luxurious planning and technique application, good. Okay, great. So the thing is that with Vande Bharat trains, I mean, I would look at it as a good design. The reason being is not just because it looks good, and some people may find that it looks good, some people may find that it may not look good. I personally find it's good looking, but the more important thing is that it solves for a very big problem of Indian Railways, right? So typically, if you have seen that typically all our trains have a locomotive engine in front, right? So when it has an engine at front, it is able to, the acceleration is slower. And then when it reaches the junction at the end, the last stop, it has to be uncoupled, the engine. And then a new engine will have to be put at the front end, at the reverse end, so that it can go in the reverse direction. Whereas with this train, what happens is because the locomotive is on both ends, already inbuilt into the train, it can accelerate faster. And if it reaches the junction, it doesn't have to change the engines. It just goes back the reverse way. So it saves a lot of time, right? So that is one of the factors of why this is also very popular, right? Apart from everything else like speed, the luxury and all of that is definitely better, right? So, but start thinking from a user perspective that if you have used a Vande Bharat train, have you felt better than, something else? Very quickly coming to the teacups, right? That you see here. Do you think that these are good design or not? I'm sure we have all drunk tea in this. Okay, good design. All right. No, sir. Okay. Yes. Designs, whether good or bad, is totally a relative issue. Yes, Dr. Manoj, completely agree. But what is your view? What is your personal view on this? Okay, so most of you are saying that yes, it is a good design. I think rule 52, you mentioned that it is not a good design. So do you want to just explain a little bit why you think it's not a good design? You have said it's not convenient to hold. Okay, fantastic. So now, and some of you who have said it's a good design, can you just explain very quickly why you think it's a good design?
It's good design because it's recyclable as well as very cheap. So everywhere it is available, and it is also promoting the rural or our own people engagement to product such type of good product, sellable product. And it is also not causing any type of harmful, which is we can see in the plastic mug, plastic cup, we get the cancer.
Correct. Correct. So absolutely, health benefits, it's environmentally better, it creates local livelihoods, you know, all of that is, part of this. And also as a user, I don't know if you feel it, but if I hold a clay cup like this kullad, right, versus a plastic cup or a glass cup, it's easier to hold because the heat does not transfer as much. Whereas in a plastic cup or in a glass cup, the heat is a lot more. It transfers heat a lot more, right? So it becomes a lot hotter to hold. Whereas these are less or easier to hold if it's got hot tea, right? So the thing is, again, I think again somebody said it's relative, right? Everybody may have their own opinions, and that is exactly what we need to keep in mind, right? So today, in today's world, when we are looking at innovation, when we are looking at startups, what are startups doing really? What is are we building anything fundamentally different? Just think about it. Are we fundamentally changing something? All of you are teaching so many subjects. Are we fundamentally changing anything different? Are we teaching something different fundamentally over the last few years? If there is a startup, like I was just hearing on the previous sessions, and I think there were examples around Amazon. What is fundamentally different about Amazon that was not there earlier? What is the core problem that Amazon solved? Anybody?
It
You
reaches
went
to the every corner of the country, uh, from the dealer perspective also and from the user perspective also. So that's why I think it's a difference.
correct. And but in India, for example, we had India Posts, right? And India post offices reach everywhere. Speed post will reach your home. So why is this different?
They don't collect the material from the villages or from the traditional way, and they don't deliver to the we say quickly or in timely. There are means other reasons also. So that's why I think Amazon has uh, done that, and on one platform they have given everything to the customer.
Perfect. And that is what I think role number 18 is also saying. It's problem-solving approach of the customer. That as a customer, they understood as a user, what is it that we are missing in our shopping experience today? Think about it 20, 30 years back. Right now, we are used to Amazon. We can't think of a life without Amazon and things like this, right? But 30 years back, even in the US, something like this did not exist. They had big departmental stores and they started it there. So the fundamental difference was that they took a completely design-centered view, which means that they kept the user at the center. And the user was both the people who were selling, small brands, big brands, as well as people like you and me who buy. So they took a extreme customer-centric view and they understood the pain points of the customer. And therefore they designed something new. Now, some of us may like it. A lot of us may like Amazon. A lot of us may not like Amazon. So good design does not mean it is universal, that everybody is going to like it. I think I really like what somebody had said earlier, that it is relative, right? But whenever we are designing something, is a majority benefiting from it? That is very, very important to kind of keep note on. So when I'm innovating, when I'm starting something new, whether it is in the classroom or I'm starting a new business idea, it is not whether I feel it is good or I feel I've done a great job. No, the vision will be yours, but it is whether your user, whoever that user might be, as a professor, your users are your students and maybe their parents. They are your users. And if you start thinking like that, then a lot of innovation can get triggered, right? And that is really, really important. Do you think zero is a good design or a bad design? Sorry, the question is that zero, the number zero, the digit zero, it always did not exist. Somebody thought of it. Maybe somewhere in India thought of it, right? And then it traveled to Middle East and then it got evolved further and so on and so forth. It's an innovation that happened 3,000, 4,000 years back. It's an innovation that happened. Somebody thought differently. But was it a good design? It's a great design. Yes. Most of us think so. Why? Correct. Both philosophically and practically correct. But why? All is zero if you're not correct. That's philosophical, but practically. What would happen if there was no zero as a digit? So if we did not have zero, and suppose in our old ancient times, right? People are living in caves, some people are living in royal families, right? Yeah, infinity and its nicety, perfect. I mean, all of that is great, but simple practical thought, right? Why, what was required? So if I had to tell the king, or the king had to tell someone that I need 15 apples, they would have to write 1, 1, 1, 1, go up to 10, 11, 12, 15. It would be all 15 that I would have to explain. I would have to write 15 digits. If I have to talk about 55, there would be no 55. It would be 1, 1, 1, 1 going up to 55. But the moment zero came in, it was able to break that down to 0, 10s, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on and so forth. And there is so much that we can do just because of that innovation. And there is much more. Of course, I'm not a mathematician, so I wouldn't know everything. Anybody here is a mathematician will know much more about it. But think about it. It's actually an innovation because it's changed the way we were doing things. It changed the way people were doing business. When there were also bazaars back then. Bazaar hote the. People used to buy and sell. Kitna aasan ho gaya. Absolutely right. Computers would not exist without zeros because it's all 0 and 1. Right? So it's a massive innovation. And it was because the design was great. Somebody thought about the user's problem and they tried to solve a problem. So the things that we are learning about design is that it is not about how it looks only. Sometimes we only think about design in terms of how it looks. Are the colors good? Is the design, is the shape good, and all of that. But it is really about whether it is functioning well. Is it helping the user to function well, right? That is most important. And that requires a problem-solving approach. That requires us to break our thinking. And that is what is going to lead to innovation. And this entire topic, I'm not getting into the pins, but those are actually great designs because it's such a simple way of putting together paper, without disturbing the fold of the paper and so on and so forth. I mean, imagine if paper clips were not invented by somebody, what would happen, right? So going forward, now, when we look about design thinking, and you will hear about design thinking a lot if you are in the space of innovation or you want to innovate. Design thinking is a concept. A lot of courses are available on design thinking. A lot of organizations are adopting design thinking, but unfortunately, it is not being understood in the right way. Now, in this small session, we can't get into a lot of the details. But this gentleman, David Kelly, is the founder of IDEO and the Stanford D School. D School is the design school. They are actually the original thinkers of design thinking and put it into practice, right? As a discipline, right? Like you're a lot of you are coming from different faculties. There are universities where design thinking is a faculty by itself, right? So let's hear from Mr. David Kelly himself and understand what he had in his mind when he thought about design thinking. And listen carefully to it, to him. It's in English, but it's a great video. The video link will be available, and I can send that to you separately. It's available on YouTube, so you can listen to it later also. But do pay attention and let's discuss what we understand out of this, right?
Design thinking is an approach to creative problem solving. It's a human-centered path to innovation.
Hello, I'm David Kelly. Happy you're here to explore design thinking with idea. So many people don't think of themselves as creative, but I think that's wrong. Everybody's creative. And that's one of the reasons we teach design thinking, because we think that knowing this kind of approach can unlock your creativity and make you feel capable of coming up with routinely wonderful ideas.
Design thinking starts with people. It's about putting human needs at the center of all we do. It's about simple mindset shifts and new ways of looking at problems through empathy and collaboration. For an idea to be both successful and meaningful, we use 3 lenses to bring it into desirability, feasibility, and viability. This ensures we're creating something that makes people's lives better, but that's also feasible to produce and makes good business sense. There are many different phases of design thinking. We find it helpful to teach it in a linear way, but in practice, it's more like this. Design thinking unfolds in iterative loops, moving back and forth across phases, some taking much longer than others. To learn it, you need to try it out for yourself. The skills and mindsets of design thinking can help you tackle your biggest challenges and build your creative confidence. Once you put it into practice and make it your own, who knows what important problems you might solve.
Great. Any thoughts? Any questions on this? You can also share on the chat or on through the mic any specific problem. If you think, are you an innovator? Are you trying to innovate on any specific problem? So Dr. Manoj, I think it's not very similar to Kaizen, because Kaizen is, I think what I remember of Kaizen, it's more process efficiency in some sense. Design thinking actually is a lot about how we think about problems of solving a problem, right? And I will give you some examples, right? I mean, let's move ahead, right? This is the question: when should we apply design thinking? Because design thinking is, sometimes people use this word, sometimes we don't understand it too well. But design thinking cannot be applied all the time, or should not be applied as a concept all the time, right? When we should apply this? Let's take this example, right? So very quickly, and I know this will be easy for you. So if I have to solve 1+1, right? It's a problem, right? For you, of course, it's very simple. For all of us, it's very simple. For a 1-year-old child, of course, it's very difficult, right? It's a very simple problem which has a very simple answer. All of you will get this right. But now, very quickly, I would want. Can some of you give the answer to this in the next 10 seconds? You can use a calculator, by the way. Great. Okay, we have got one answer. Okay. And that is, I think, almost the correct answer. That is the correct answer, right? Now, the thing is that, of course, all of you can answer this. If you have a calculator, all of you will be able to answer this, and you will all get the same answer. Correct? I mean, yeah, there are some small mistakes that can happen, but those are mistakes, right? But you will all get the same answer. So even if it is a complex problem, in a problem like this, you will get a similar answer. It may take more time. So this is a linear problem. So 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 is basically the same kind of problem as 5643 into 2198. It's a linear problem. Everybody will get the same answer. But what happens next? How might we control traffic at busy junctions? What could be some quick solutions to this? Signals, fantastic. Flyovers, okay, great. Diversion route, okay. Nice. Bypasses, right? Correct. Right? So all of you are now getting the idea, right? So now what happens is, with this kind of a problem statement, you don't have one single answer. If you speak to multiple people may have different solutions for this, right? I have written traffic signals, but there could be so many other signals. I mean, flyovers, diversion routes, bypasses, all of these are actually great answers, right? So now we are getting into a problem statement where there could be multiple right answers. And in real life, that is how real life works. We don't always have the same answer, and the same answer is not the right answer. It depends on the user. It depends on whom a user is and in what context it is. But still, this kind of a problem statement will still have a fixed set of solutions possible. So it's not one solution, but it's a fixed set of solutions. Now we'll look at the final question. And here I would really like your responses, and open your mics and speak about this. How might we promote safe driving on the highway? Is it a problem? Yeah, it is a problem, right? Yeah. So speed limits can be one way to solve the problem. All right. What else? Rules and regulations, yes. But now I can see that you're all thinking. What are you thinking about? There is something that is going on in your minds now. What is it? Yeah, practice good driving habits and enforce them. Yes.
Diversions.
Diversions. Fair enough. Create social awareness and strict license policy. Yeah. Okay, great ideas coming through. How likely are these to succeed in promoting safe driving on the highway? I don't need it on the chat. Just open up your mics and speak. Let's have a discussion.
Strict implementation of rules and regulations.
Yes. So we have rules and regulations today also. We have speed limits. We have speed limits shown on the highways. Everybody seems to have a driving license as well.
And there is more
But
corruption.
strict implementation should be there, no, sir?
Strict implementation should be there. But can we have implementers everywhere? How will we have, if someone is driving between Nagpur and Bombay, how many police people or patrol cars can we have?
Sir, we have
I'm just challenging. Your answer is right. I'm just trying to challenge the thought process here.
sir,
But we
we
still have these accidents. Yeah, go ahead.
identify our responsibility. First of all, being a citizen, how we can treat on the road and on the highway. We have two different strategies. One is on the road and one is open highway. If open highway is there, we feel like a king, and we fly our own jet at that time.
Correct.
Excuse
We
me,
can
sir.
use the drones.
Like Google Map, something should be invented to control all this.
No, fair enough. Now, let me put you on the spot, all of you. Your professors. Today, for one day, you're given the responsibility of ensuring total safety, zero accidents on the highway between Ahmednagar and Nagar and Nasik. It's your responsibility. and you have only got, 5 petrol cars and 10 policemen to manage this. How will we stop this? Can we stop it?
We should identify some places where there is straight road, and we can put traffic police, fun traffic police at that spot. So there will be no speed limit. There will be less speeding.
Correct.
Where there are diversions or where there are turns,
Yes.
the vehicles will automatically slow down. So there will be less chance of
Chance of
accident.
accident. Correct.
We-
Great. So you are now thinking absolutely in the right direction, right? The challenge is that this is called a wicked problem, right? Have you heard this term before? It's called a wicked problem. Okay. A wicked problem or a sticky problem is one which is not very easy to solve, right? And we have plenty of those problems all around us. कचरा डब्बे में डालना है, right? We all know what should be done. We know the rules, but is it happening properly? Maybe, maybe not, right? So these are wicked problems. So to solve these kind of problems is when we need to go into the design thinking mindset. Because ये बस हम लोग आपस में 5-6 आइडिया देके we will not be able to solve this problem. It will need deeper thinking. It will need to go into the minds of the users. So we have to go into the mind of the user, who are the people on the highway. What is their mindset? Like somebody said that I get the freedom. I feel that I am owning a fighter jet, and I want to like race. That means you're getting into the mind of the user. And then we have to solve for that. Rules regulations से सब कुछ solve नहीं हो पाएगा. Not in our country. Right? Okay, so we are thinking differently now. So design thinking, so what we need to understand is it's not solving for any day, everyday issues. The third problem, the first two problems are very clear. Everybody will get the same answer. The third problem, how might we control traffic at a busy junction, again, is a structural problem which can be answered by civil engineers, by traffic policemen, and so on and so forth, right? It will have a set of answers, but it's still a structural problem. The moment we get into the fourth question, how might we promote safe driving on the highway, we are talking about behavioral problems. And if you realize anywhere you work, anything that you solve for, at the end of the day, you're trying to solve for a behavior problem or behavior challenge. How many of you use Uber or Ola? How many of you are, yeah, you right? Or have used whenever you have needed to? How many of you think that Uber and Ola has actually really changed your way about how you think about travel now, within the city or wherever? For example, a lot of elderly people, a lot of women now feel that they are able to travel because they have a safer mode of transport. So they have been able to change behaviors. Sorry?
Comfort zone, sir.
Comfort, correct. Right? Metro rail is doing the same thing in a lot of cities. It is changing behaviors. Right? Earlier, I did not used to go to old Delhi, for example, when I was staying in Delhi, or a lot of people did not go because I don't know if any one of you are from Delhi, but it was very far, too crowded, very difficult to get to. But now once the railway is there, the metro rail is there, I'm able to go because it was designed in a way for my comfort that I now feel like going there. Right? So these are problems that exist all around us, including in our homes, including in our classrooms, including in our society, like building society, including in the university. Everywhere you will find these kind of challenges that are there. Now, it is about who is curious about these problems. Utsukta hai kya? Am I looking at it? Am I observing? Is this a problem? Right? So that is really important. So we'll get to the next step, right? So this one is not an easy answer. So this is where the moment we get into the behavioral space, we have to apply. Sorry, there was a power cut at my end, so the Wi-Fi had gone off. Okay. Just 1 second. Let me just get this organized. I will just share the screen, right? So what we are looking at is now essentially problems in the classroom, right? Or in the for the learners, essentially, and trying to see if we can solve for some of them, or how do we solve for some of them, right? Just 1 second. Is my screen visible to you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. I thought it was not. My bad. Right. So let's look at admissions, right? Now, during the admission process, a lot of the students and let's say their parents will go through anxiety. Is that correct? Yeah. So any ideas and solutions from your end as to how this could be solved for? What are the things to be thought about? So there is nothing on the screen. Okay, I'm just trying to get it back. But essentially, let me write down the question here. I've just pulled on chat and I'll try to in the meanwhile get the screen going.
Yes, screen is visible.
Screen is visible. Thank you very much for the confirmation. Okay, how many of you think that admission में anxiety होता है बच्चों को? How many of you have noticed that or are aware of that? Yeah, correct. So it is a problem that we have seen around us. It's an observance, right? Now, have we tried to solve it? User is my learner. It seems to be a common problem, correct? Now, if we have to solve it, it's not an easy problem to solve, right? It's not an easy problem because there are limited seats. There is a lot of candidates applying, so it's not an easy problem to solve. But if you want to improve the experience of a learner, there can be solutions found if we think deeply enough. And it can be an innovation. It might be that one of you come up with an amazing innovation on this and it solves the problem amazingly. And then it can be scaled up to all universities in the country and across the world. All these kind of problems exist around us, for which you might be able to understand the problem. And we have to be close to that problem. We may not be able to solve for, reducing road accidents, but you might be able to solve for a problem like this, or I'll go to the next one, right? Which is onboarding. That once a candidate has been admitted, then they are integrated into the university, into the college, and to the campus, right? Do students feel fear? Do some students feel fear? Yeah. Yeah. Discussion with the child about his feelings. Absolutely. That is the first step, right? But if the child has fear, for whatever reason, right? It may not be the university or the college or the faculty's problem. आपके वजह से प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो रहा, उनको fear नहीं आ रहा, but fear है. Now, if the fear is there, how does it impact their learning? Yeah, we can counsel, but is there a problem with some children feeling fear? Because it's not my point of view, right? You individually will have to understand this. That is that fear a problem? Is it a problem?
Cause of fear.
Cause of fear, yes, we have to understand. But is the fear a problem? Is my question.
Yes, sir.
And why is it so, ma'am?
Maybe due to new place and everything is new there, which is he is
Correct.
not known about it.
Correct. So there is fear and anxiety that is there. But does that cause a problem? मतलब उससे होगा क्या? Maybe we'll say that नहीं, fear आएगा, 5 दिन रहेगा, चला जाएगा. Nothing will happen. Does it lead to any problems? Okay, Dr. Manoj is saying red tapeism or mannerless behavior of staff. So can you just explain that a little bit? That's a very interesting point you're mentioning. Okay, physical and mental problems. Yeah, yeah. So it can lead to that, right? If children have this fear and it stays there during the onboarding process, they will have, obviously, they could have physical and mental problems, and then they will not be learning well enough. You will be putting in effort, your teachers will be putting in effort in the classroom, but they will not be learning enough, right? So one, they could have, some of them could have mental challenges, and also they will not be learning enough. This is a kind of problem that you might have to think about. Academics in the classroom, all of you are putting in so much effort to create lesson plans and thinking about how to teach and all of that. But a lot of times, do we find that the child, the student himself or herself does not have the motivation? Is that something that we have observed? Is that something common that you see? Do you think motivation is a problem for students in the classroom? Any responses? Yeah, set state of mind and behavior. Yeah. Mentorship. So, see, all of you are going to the solution. Okay. So, one thing that we have to understand about this entire process is that we have to hold ourselves back from making a quick judgment of what could be a solution. Because we feel that we know how to solve it. We are always in a problem solving mode. But the question is, do we know the problem good well enough? So do you think, as you look back at your own classroom, do you think motivation of children is a problem? Motivation of students is a problem? students are not motivated enough? Is it a problem or is it not a problem? Think about your own class. It is teachers'
Resources.
problem.
Resources.
Okay.
Learning resources.
Sorry. Resources, right? Okay.
Resources.
Correct. But it's teachers' problem, is Dr. Manoj is saying, right? So is it the teacher's problem only?
No, not always the teacher's problem. It's both sides.
Correct. Sorry, now the light came back. So it disconnected once again. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if it could be the family issue also, right? How do we then address those issues? So these are all problems out there for us to solve for and innovate on. And there could be massive innovation done on all of these. These are ready to be, kind of solved for, right? Then non-academic. How many of our students are actually participating properly in non-academic stuff, co-curricular activities or extracurricular activities? It could be literature, it could be drama, it could be sports, it could be something else. Is it enough, do you feel?
Not all, but some of those who are having interest in the particular sports, they participate.
Correct. So those who don't have interest, is it important for them to participate in some of these things?
Yes, it is truly important in all manner. Either they are in medical field or any field, they need to participate in at least one or two extracurricular activity.
Correct. Absolutely right. So which means that if they are not participating, that means they are losing out, because you don't gain a lot of life skills that are required to really do great in whatever profession you choose. But a lot of people are not willing to get into extracurricular activities, right? They might just do class and they might even just go out and hang out with friends, right? But they're not participating in some of these things. How do we change the perception? So for that, again, we have to go into the minds of the students and their parents. What is happening? Why are they not doing it? Do they find it boring? Do they think it will not help them in their careers? What is the core issue? Uh, yes, please. You had your hands raised, I think 18, right?
Yes, sir. Sorry to disturb you in between, but I have one example regarding this. That I work in a co-ed college, and there is
Okay.
one department of pharmacy, and in the department of pharmacy there is no such type of activity in the name of curricular activity, extra co-curricular activities. So
Right.
the people always see us, watch us, and they feel very, we can say, deprived like people.
Yeah.
Why they are not having this such thing? So this
Right.
this may lead to them to disseparate from common people, or to enjoy their life at the time when they need it. This is just a one
Absolutely.
example. It is
That's
very,
a,
very serious for that.
Absolutely. And I think I'm so happy you brought this up, right? Because this is exactly where a solution can be found. Now, suppose that you had to find a solution to this, and I'm asking everybody in the room that this is a situation in the pharmacy college. There is no infrastructure for extracurricular activities. What can be done? How can it be solved? Somebody might say that, okay, we need a budget. We need to create a games room. We might need to, kind of get a teacher or a professor to manage non-academic things. But is that going to be always practically possible? So if I have to introduce some sort of non-academic extracurricular activities in that college from tomorrow, is there something we can do? all of you think and help him. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, sir, roll number 18, but can
Yes.
you help give him 5 ideas of how he, although he's from a different college, but he could influence some setting up of extracurricular activities in the pharmacy college from tomorrow itself?
Yes, sir.
Just 3 or 4 ideas. Yes.
Why not, sir? So first of all, we'll take a general survey. First day we can take a general survey. How many of us, how many of you want to play a game? You can
Yeah.
choose
Yeah.
three sort of game. So
Correct.
they can have their own choice of game interested.
Correct.
Then we
Correct.
will find out the actually sample those who want to play in sports, and some of them they may not be interested in sport. So
Correct.
they may be spectators. So
Yeah.
they can get them motivated
Yeah.
after checking those their classmates are doing, and also
Correct.
some sort of singing and some sort of a cultural activity we can take,
Exactly.
like on the road we can take a road show regarding safety, regarding e-teasing. So these can show, they can also show their potential what they have at the time. such act-
Absolutely.
Such activities not require too much efforts and too much money. Some recreational fun games we can take, slow cycling
Correct.
we can take, simple.
Very nice. No, this is great. This is great because and sorry, I mean, did you have a point? I think yeah. So this is great because now you're thinking about one, 2 things that I really like about what he said, right? First of all, he identified a problem. He felt the pain of the user. In this case, it was, sorry, I'm not able to hear you. You're on mute if you're saying something. What you? Okay. Okay. Maybe he was on a call. Okay. So the two things that I really liked about, no, that's fine. I think what I was saying is 2 things that I really liked about your approach was, first of all, you have observed that there is a problem somewhere, that some people have a problem, that they don't have any access to, let's say, non-curricular or extracurricular activities, right? Which is fantastic, number one. Number two, you are thinking in terms of saying that I want to know more. I want to know what they want. I want to do a survey. I want to know more what they want. That is fantastic. You're not jumping into a solution. That is great. So you are showing curiosity, number one. Curiosity matlab utsukta. You have curiosity about, this problem. ये हो क्यों रहा है ऐसा? Second is you're showing empathy by trying to understand what are their needs, what are they feeling like, and then you're suggesting solutions which are simpler to execute, right? Which will not take a lot of money, it will not take a lot of approvals, it can be done easily, and it will satisfy the needs of the users. That is design thinking. Now, this is a mindset, it is not a process. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking design thinking is a process. Uska steps hai and we have to follow the steps. It is a mindset. It is a way of approaching a problem. And then you have certain tools to work with, which we can't get into today. It's, we don't have too much time, so we can't go into that, right? So, so, really, this is how we can think about it. Also, post-course, you might think, how do we maintain a bond with the student who has passed from our college, who has become an alumni? Are we doing enough? Is it good for the college? Can we learn from the students going forward? Can the students continue to learn from the university? Can the students come back and share a lot of things with the students and the professors and so on and so forth? The question is it a problem? That are we doing enough? पहले वो लगना पड़ेगा कि is it a problem? For example, you might feel that it is not a problem, and then you don't need to solve for it at all. But if you think that yes, there is so much potential here and we should try to solve it, then we need to start thinking, okay, why are my alumni not interested? Why are they not keeping in touch with me? We need to understand them first. What are they expecting that we are not able to give? And then we have to creatively come up with solutions, right? So in summary, as we come to the end, this was, like I said, designed to be a very, very high level, simple, introduction to the thought of design thinking in a way. And I would like to get your feedback. But in a nutshell, left-hand side design thinking is about believing that we can make a difference and having an intentional process in order to get to new relevant solutions that will create an impact. That is really important, a positive impact, right? That is really, really important. Second, as a thought process, it is very human centered. We have to first think not about myself, but about the user. That is number one. Number two, अकेले से solution नहीं आएगा. We have to collaborate with others, with also my users, understand them much better. It is optimistic. Now we are solving for some very important problems, right? Road safety, we are solving for alumni interaction, we are solving for anxiety of students, or there could be so many other solutions. We can't solve for it unless we are optimistic that it can be solved. It's a very important mindset. That yes, it can be solved. Let's think about it. The answer is not easy. And it is experimental. Because these are sticky problems, nobody in the world can say कि मेरे पास ही इसका सही जवाब है. नहीं है. We will have to experiment with multiple ideas and see which one works and then iterate and make it better and better. Right? But ये सब कुछ करने के लिए the starting point are 2 points, which are very, 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 very important. Number one is curiosity. Am I curious? Am I looking around, seeing कि कहाँ पे क्या चल रहा है, क्या नहीं चल रहा है? Am I feeling that यहाँ पे this could be something better? How many times have you gone to a bank and you have waited in a huge long queue? When we were working with SBI, I think the biggest challenge was that in the youth of the country were tired of standing in queue at banks. And they were not opening, bank accounts in public sector branches. So the management was curious. Why is this happening? ऐसा तो नहीं होना चाहिए. How do I get them in? Then they had empathy. The second point is empathy, that we tried to understand them. Why are you not coming to a public sector bank? Then we understood that, hey, I am a delivery boy for Amazon. I am a delivery boy. I am a Uber driver. I am on the road 20 hours a day. And then I go home to sleep. If I come to the bank branch and I have to spend 1 hour there in the queue, then my money is gone for that 1 hour or that day. I cannot afford that. Only when you have that empathy to listen and understand will we understand the core problem. And that's when the bank decides that, okay, we will develop a digital tool called Yono, which will be applicable and designed for all the youngsters. Right? So this is really the approach of design thinking. Like I said, it's a very vast topic. It's not as easy as it sounds, of course. There is a lot of complexity, but it can lead to amazing innovations in everything, whether you're starting up a startup on your own, you're helping other startups or innovation, or you're driving your own innovation in your own classroom or in your own colleges, right? It has been an absolute pleasure spending the last 1.5 hours with you all. Thank you so much for the interaction. I know it's such a large group and it's very difficult to interact, but you kept interacting on the chat, and some of you opened your mics and spoke about it as well. So, my pleasure. This is my contact details. You can keep in touch on, LinkedIn. You can just scan this. But I'm also very happy. I know we have some time, maybe a couple of minutes or whatever. Very happy to take any questions or anything, any suggestions, any feedback that you might have for me as well.
Thank you, sir.
Can I conclude?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. I am done. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I am Dr. Chirakuddin Pinjari on the behalf of MMTC, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Marathwada University. You deliver sir so beautiful lecture on design, and it is a clear picture for a design in our mind. How can solve the problem? Design is itself working. So thank you, sir, on the behalf of UGC MMTC. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All the best to all of you. Right?
Thank you, sir. So next also person, Sanket sir has been joined. So I request roll number 35. Please introduce Sanket sir.
हॅलो.
Yes, ma'am.
हा एकच मिनिट.
Yeah, oh.
Sorry for late, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Saikat Chattopadhay is a distinct leader in the innovation and startup ecosystem, currently serving as the CEO of the Atal Incubation Center, JNU Foundation for Innovation, JNU Delhi, with a PhD in a molecular biology and MBA. He brings a unique blend of scientific expertise and business acumen to foster entrepreneurship and technology driven innovation. Under his leadership, AIC JNU has been actively supporting startup innovators and researchers in translating ground-breathing idea into scalable ventures. Dr. Chattopadhyay is committed to building a thrilling entrepreneurial ecosystem by mentoring startups, facilitating industry academic collaboration, and driving investment opportunities. As a keynote speaker on the 14th Feb 2025, Dr. Chattopadhyay will share insight on corporate and startup innovation, highlighting emerging trends, best practices, and the strategies for the fostering a culture of innovation in today's rapidly evolving landscape. His extensive experience in incubation policy and advisory and strategy to growth make him a sought after thought leader in a field. Thank you so much, sir. Hello.
Thank you. And
Welcome, sir.
thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for this heartwarming introduction.
Good
And
afternoon.
I'll try to share my screen right now and see whether I can have the PPT. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir. Screen is visible.
got it. So thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity, and good afternoon to all the participants. Thank you for joining today's session. So this is about corporate innovation and startup innovation. What are the differences? What are the best practices in both the worlds, and how we can actually get the benefit out of both the case studies. So I will be guiding you through this presentation, and we'll explore how corporations and startups approach innovations differently, the strengths and weaknesses of each, and how they can actually learn from each other. By the end of the session, you will have a clear understanding of the innovation ecosystem in both the worlds and how they shape the future of business. So let's start. So to give you an overview of the session, let's take a quick look at what we will cover. First of all, we'll start understanding what innovation really means and the different types of innovations. Then we'll compare how, corporations and startups, different types of, corporates and startup innovations are, looking at the key characteristics, their processes, and real measures of success for both the cases, how corporates define success, how startups define success, and what are their matrices of defining those. And finally, we'll explore how corporations and startups can collaborate, and in the near future, how the innovations will look like if they both of them collaborate, or at least how the future will look both in the cases of corporate as well as startups. And then we'll wrap up with a rapid question answer session. I have 5 MCQs in the end. So feel free to ask questions other than those also. So if anybody can unmute, and because everybody has been going through all the sessions so far, so any of the participants, if they can actually unmute and let me know in one sentence what they think innovation is. And then we'll of course discuss about that. Anyone? And what is your understanding of innovation? Because you have been doing research and development, you have been into project work, you have done research work, you have done PhD. So how is innovation different, or how is it similar?
Sir, innovation is nothing but invention with application.
Okay. Then how do you differentiate between discovery, invention, and what is the characteristic of invention? Like, how do you define invention? Of course, the classical definition is something new, but then from the entrepreneurial point of view, you have to define why the new is there. What is the value that you are adding to that new thing? Why are you first of all innovating? That's the reason. So just previous session was on design thinking. So I'm sure you have understood what is the meaning of innovation. Why do we actually have to innovate in the current state of things? Any guesses? So even in research and development, actually, you do research whenever there is a problem. So any research actually starts, and it's a classical definition of research also, that whenever there is a problem in society or in the vicinity around you, you just define that particular problem. First of all, you empathize. And then after that empathy, you try to define that particular problem and try to understand what that problem is and how you can actually approach that particular problem for a solution. And then, of course, there are entire design thinking processes and all those things, various iterations. So somebody can just, mute this participant. So let me define it then. Simple definition: innovation is about creating value through new ideas for the target audience. It could be yourself also. So if you're innovating something, for example, you are living inside a room in an office and you have some chair that is having some problems, and then you got a carpenter and you innovate on a zero gravity sort of chair. That is also an innovation, because you understood the problem, you had a back pain or something like that, and then you came up with a solution through research, and you thought that, okay, this is the most frugal way of defining this particular problem and you can solve this particular problem. You did some research and you found out that this is the most suitable and the most effective and the most cost sensitive solution, and then you brought the carpenter and got some angle to that particular chair or something. That is also an innovation, but in classical sense, you are adding value to the customer. I'll give you one very simple and very great example. All of you must have used sachet of shampoos or whatever the kind of things, small sachets of 2 rupees, 3 rupees, 5 rupees. Previously, the problem statement was that large shampoo bottles used to be very costly and everybody could not afford it. So somebody actually in this industry, they thought that why not give a 2 rupees, 3 rupees sachet so that everybody can at least try and get addicted to that particular thing. So this is actually addition of a value to the customers using innovation. So the sachet system was a big innovation in terms of getting the customer at least the taste of that particular product in a very small amount. So this is the kind of innovation that I'm talking about that adds value to the customers. It's Of course, it's about inventing something, but it shouldn't, I mean, it's not necessarily that it's a complete innovation, complete invention out of the scratch. It could be, value addition at, from point A to point B. As I said, the shampoo was not innovated, but the packaging was innovated on. So we are improving the existing products or some processes. For example, earlier in US, people used to work and, this medical transcription and all those things, doctors had to do it. Then the BPOs came, business partners overseas, what you call the call centers. So the transcription used to be sent by, by internet to the business process partners in India, and they would transcribe it, make the notes, and then send it back to the doctors. So this is also a process innovation that can be there. And then, of course, business models to deliver better value to the customers. It could be, different kind of business models. For example, Netflix. Earlier, it used to be, DVDs, and then Netflix came up with, direct to your mobile or your TV. So there are various stages of innovation. I'll briefly touch upon the stages of innovation. There are product innovation. Most people think when they hear about innovation, it's about creating a new product. For example, Apple's iPhone was an innovative product with a touch screen. Then process innovation, of course, I have a very good example of Toyota's lean manufacturing system. That lean manufacturing essentially is, minimizing the wastage and creating a very efficient model, collaboration between the team partners, and making things happen at a very fast and efficient way. So that's the Toyota's lean manufacturing system that revolutionized the automobile industry in terms of the processes. Then comes business model. As I said, that the Netflix model is a very good case where, the earlier business model was completely disrupted by the Netflix model. And that was a kind of business model innovation. Then, of course, services. I mean, Amazon's, quick serving, single click service model was also a very good, business model that disrupted the industry, where, home delivery used to take 2, 3, 4 days, or even sometimes weeks. But then Amazon came up with a very fast delivery system, and that that was a very fast service innovation model, because they had used supercomputers. They had some, lots of simulation studies where, just in time sort of models where things will be required. So they had done lots of, analysis, who requires what at what time, at what season, that sort of thing. So that way they used to stock things. They used to have, hyperlocal storage areas. They had affiliate marketing, affiliate partners also for delivery. So they developed that particular service model also. So this is about innovation. So you must be having a hang of what innovation is and, what are the various types of innovation. Then comes corporate innovation. And this is the time when I actually differentiate between how corporates innovate and how startups innovate. So I'll start with the corporate innovation. What are their key characteristics? There are distinct advantages of this particular system also, and there are some disadvantages also. So I'll discuss both of them. They are actually, as you can understand, that they are corporate, they're multinational companies, they are resource rich. They have lots of money to spend at the first instant. So they do not have any money crunch. So that is the most distinct part between startups and corporates. They are resource rich. They have access to very significant amounts of financial resources, and they can establish their own R&D departments and large teams. So they already have, R&D centers. They can actually tweak those R&D centers into innovation centers also whenever they need. For example, Google spends billions of dollars, probably around more than $10 billion per year on their R&D. That allows them to develop products like, the Gmail was actually out of those particular R&D, some aspects of Google Maps, and even one of the finest business case studies is AdSense of Google, which is one of their cash cows. Cash cow means which is generating lots of money for them. So even AdSense was developed due to this particular kind of corporate innovation model. Then established processes. So the corporates, when they become multinational, it takes time to become a multinational company. So by that time, because of their management systems, they have very good established processes of, approaches to the development of particular products, what you call the stage gate processes. So the stage gate processes. It actually is a very simple term where ideas actually are input into some sort of algorithms of development, and the ideas go through multiple phases of evaluation. So you can imagine an algorithm where it says yes, no, and somebody has to decide, okay, whether to take it further or not. And then if it's a yes, then it goes to another process. So these are the stage gates. Now I'll discuss about them in a detailed manner later on. Essentially, what it means is that at every stage in a corporate sector, these kind of checks and balances are there, whether that particular project needs to go into the next stage or not. So there is lots of checks and balances at every stage of corporate innovation. This also ensures that the most viable ideas actually move forward. What you call, there are kill switches at every stage. So if a senior manager or maybe one of the the founders, they find that this particular project is not going into the right direction, they can kill it even at the middle stages of that particular corporate innovation stage. And that actually slows down the innovation process. But then that's how corporates move. This is the classic difference between startups and corporate innovation. Then comes the brand reputation and large customer base. As the word suggests, the multinational company, they have become large because they have developed some kind of association with the customers, and that has developed a brand reputation for them. They have very huge amounts of day-to-day use customers. So lakhs and millions of people are buying their particular product. They are buying because they have established the quality, the good name, good reputation. They have a brand value. For example, you go to any shop, in any any clothing shop, and moment you see a Levi's tag, you are assured that it will provide you good quality, good kind of zippers. It will last long. It has got the good quality dyes that will not be bad for the skin. They have gone through all the quality checks. It will, I mean, it's a value for money that will start thinking. So Levi's company will never think that giving the customers an innovation product that will ruin their particular brand value, or that will make them lose their large customer base. That they will never do. And this actually gives you an idea that large corporations are very careful in moving with new particular products, and that's why they have lots of checks and balances at every stage of corporate innovation. Apple launches an iPhone. People know that iPhone is coming. Millions of customers are already actually waiting for that particular thing to buy. Do you think that they will bring in some innovation that actually ruin that particular brand value or their customer base? They'll never do that. Whatever is working, they'll definitely keep it. On top of that, they'll try to disrupt it. And of course, sometimes they do mistakes, and I'll talk about Tata Nano, how it became a failure. So I'll come to that in later on slides. You can think of this risk-averse culture. That's a very risky thing for corporates, and I can take the example of Nokia. What could be the reason why Nokia failed? What could be the reason why Nokia could not come up with a killer smartphone, whereas new companies like Samsung or other companies came up with these kind of products. Even Xiaomi, they have captured the market like anything in the world, but Nokia could not capitalize on it just because they had a risk-averse culture in their management. So they had a hierarchy in the management, as well as the entire hierarchy had a risk-averse culture. What does it mean? So they saw that their phones are selling well, they're doing well. So they thought that nobody can beat them in their particular segment. But way the technology changed, way the people pivoted, Nokia decided that we'll averse the risk, and the trends changed so rapidly that by the time the hierarchy actually realized that this is a problem that we should address, by the time the market was captured by the rest of the players. And the moment Nokia tried to develop those kind of products, they went to various manufacturing places, but then they were all loaded with orders from the other customers who had actually captured the market. So Nokia could not actually come up with a good product that would be competitive at pricing, because it's a volume sales game. The kind of freebies that you give to your customers is because of the volumes of sales. So unless and until you get some volume sales, it's very difficult to pass on the goodies to your customer. So they failed because of that. Then I can take the example of Kodak. Again, this was a case of risk-averse culture and hierarchical decision-making processes delays. When digital camera was there, you'll be surprised that Kodak had actually developed a digital camera. But then what happened was that their hierarchical management decided that we will definitely develop a digital camera, but our main focus would be still in developing those printouts, the printed, the darkroom prints of color pictures. What happened was that because of that one single decision, Kodak lost out on that particular trend of digital cameras, and they could not capture the market. And newcomers and other camera makers, they came very hard on this particular competition and defeated Kodak. So Kodak initially had to close down their entire system, and even now they're not doing great business. Maybe on and off in some sectors, but their core business is gone because of this kind of risk-averse culture in multinational companies and hierarchical decision making, where once there are various stratas of management. So there are junior level managers, there are mid-level managers, there are senior level managers, there are decision makers. So decision tree is so large in multinational companies, and it's based in so many countries. To even gather the kind of decisions and then finally coming up with a particular final decision, it takes months or maybe sometimes years to confidently come up with a solution to that particular problem. So multinational companies, they never touch their cash cows, the things that are selling well. So when an innovation comes that is disruptive, so very few players are able to pivot on those particular things. So corporates have this kind of drawbacks, and this is also the key characteristics. But you cannot say that it's always a negative thing, because multinational company has become successful because they have focused on particular products and they have their brand value. So these two things are actually in contradiction to each other. So you are saving your brand reputation by aversing the risk, but moment you take risk, you are at risk of losing your brand reputation. Then the hierarchical decision making is very good in not losing your customer base or established processes, so that you do not falter in what is already giving you so much of money. So it's a catch-22 sort of situation. So I think they should have a balancing act while developing corporate innovations. And people have realized through case studies throughout in management, people actually talk about this Kodak story, this Nokia story, and so you have to have a balancing act between corporate innovation and startup innovation. But this is the characteristic of corporate innovation. It might be slow. They are averse to risk, and they do not want to disturb their brand reputation, their large customer base. And there is always a hierarchy, lots of hierarchies. I'm talking very in simple terms. What are the hierarchical things? But there are n number of hierarchies. There are technical teams, there are marketing teams, there are HR teams and all those things. So single decision takes several months to come up to a final solution where everybody is on board, everybody is statistically significant in taking that particular decision. Now, coming to the key characteristic of startup innovation. It is quite different from corporates. They operate at resource constraints, so they don't have the money. They survive on government funds. They survive on friends and family rounds. So from their own pocket or from their own salaries, from their friends, maybe loans from MSME loans or something like that. So they are always resource constraints in startups. So be it the team members, where will you get their salaries, who is coming on board in this particular startup. So there is a crunch situation always in terms of resources in a startup. So you can understand the difference between a corporate innovation sector as well as the startup ecosystem. So that forces them to become creative, efficient, and that's why they follow what you call the agile methodologies. So agile methodology is essentially, again, more or less like the lean methodology. So what happens is that you have to focus quickly and on a particular product, so that even if something fails, you quickly pivot on that particular that product and adapt to the feedback from the customers or your needs, and then quickly pivot on that particular product and change the attributes of that particular product so that it becomes success. Because whatever success comes to the product, you have to put it back to the company so that you can survive, because there are lots of constraints in terms of money, in terms of people, in terms of product development also, because inventory is pretty minimum in startups. So you have to have the money in rotation so that you can come up with the new products also. So that's the first thing. Then because of this thing, you have to be creative. You are forced with efficiency, so you have to take risks also. All the time you have to take risks. So what is risk? Essentially, you are trying new things so that you can fail fast. So remember this thing in startups, most important thing is fail fast. This is the golden word for any startup. You have to try new things, you have to fail fast, you have to learn from that particular mistake and move on. You'll be surprised. Airbnb, you must have heard of Airbnb, that app where you can book hotels. They started as, rental for air mattresses in a living room. But that didn't work. So they pivoted several times, not just that particular product, several other products. And then finally they understood that, okay, hospitality as a whole, and that too internationally, is the game, and they should pivot on that particular thing. And today, Airbnb, how big they are. And they started at Y Combinator as a startup in their acceleration cohort. So all of you should go to Y Combinator YouTube channel and subscribe it. This is one of the best sources of startup related information in the world. I mean, they have courses, they have good presentations, good talks, podcasts. So you should always take care of those Y Combinator stuff. They have the very good quality videos in this particular sector. So if you want to learn something about startups, definitely go and check the Y Combinator YouTube channel. Then another characteristic of startups is flat organization. So you can understand what flat means. So flat means that in a room full of managers, everybody is coordinating with each other, and they are at the same level, at par with each other. The HR is also taking care of some aspects of the technicalities. The technical team is also taking care of some aspects of the management, the marketing aspect of it. And this way, so because it's a small team, so it's a flat structure. The people are wearing multiple hats at the same time, and people are doing multiple tasks at the same time, and nobody is higher or lower than anybody. Only the good ideas actually sustain. And there is very less amount of bureaucracy. I mean, there is no file movements, there is no hierarchy, and you don't have to report to somebody with formal report or something like that. It's a very cool sort of environment. But then this is a risk-taking culture, so there is always a stress involved in this particular thing, because you do not know where you get the funding, where you get the money, whether you'll get a salary next time or not. So these kind of things are always there. I can take the example of company like Zepto, and I'll come to that as an example slide later on. They developed a 10-minute grocery delivery. Now, nobody actually dared to touch this particular word that we will deliver within 10 minutes. How did they do that? So they developed a disruptive mindset. That is, they became hyper local. So they are like the Zomatos and the Swiggies in terms of grocery. So their agents are always there somewhere near a particular shop. And moment they get an order, the application, the artificial intelligence in the software, that actually puts that particular person, pings that particular person to collect that particular order from the nearest grocery store, and then quickly collect it. And now they have developed their own grocery, what you call the dark stores. But then initially they started with aggregating from local grocery stores. So this 10-minute grocery delivery was a very huge risk. and it shows you that they are agile, they are risk taking, they have resource constraints, so they become very asset light. So when they started, when they didn't have too much of funding, they said that we have an app, we have an aggregation model, and we have the local stores already there. So what asset they have? They only developed a very efficient software, an app, and they onboarded some particular delivery persons. That's it. So you can understand that how startup ecosystem works from this particular example. And this is a disruptive thought process, because nobody tried to talk about 10 minutes delivery with this kind of assurance, because nobody could do that. And even if they could do that, they were not confident about it, because they were ready to take the risk that, okay, we will fail around 20% of the times, but 80% of the time we'll deliver them properly. And even if 20% complaints are there, we'll try to solve it moment we get some good amount of funding. Now, this is the same case I talked about Zepto. Now I can also talk about Tesla and Uber. Tesla, I mean, nobody thought that an electric vehicle at that time, I'm talking about 2015, 16, 17, even 18. Nobody of the, even from the car industry, like Ford, like GM, like Toyota, nobody even thought that electric vehicle could be one of the mainstream cars for a general family in the Western world. So Tesla disrupted that particular mindset. They took the risk. They had an agile methodology of developing that particular product. They iterated. They knew where they were going. They failed badly on certain things, but then again, spring back. And they had resource constraints, and almost they had to close it because of funding issues. But slowly they made up a good product, and people started buying it. And nowadays, what Tesla is. It is one of the most valuable companies in the world at this moment. And they are coming up with innovative products every almost couple of years. Similarly, Uber, nobody thought that, a ride sharing sort of, an app would be that much successful. And there were some risk associated with it. Some, security issues were there. But then Uber actually took the risk. They pivoted very quickly on certain aspects of it, like location sharing and the privacy issues in the app and all those things. And there was very, very, very much cases of frauds and some drivers misbehaving with the passengers. But then they came up with various solutions like microphone recordings and very fast reportings, and punishing the drivers with cut from their shares and all those things. So they innovated at every level that they could do, and they came up with one of the most successful companies in the world at this moment is Uber. So you get a hang of how startups innovate, how they have resource constraints, they have agile methodology, risk-taking culture. They interact with each other at a very day-to-day basis. There is no hierarchy. They make quick decisions, they fail fast, and they move on. They iterate their products on a weekly or monthly basis, and they come up with solutions to the problems. They take feedback from the customers, and they always have a disruptive mindset. They start with a disruptive mindset idea, because otherwise you will not be able to create a niche product for yourself. What is niche product? That means the market is already crowded with say multinational products and all those things. You have to come up with a particular product which grab the attention of your customers, of your target customers. So you have to differentiate your product in such a way that your target audience is actually attracted to it at the first instant. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get hold of your customer base. Now, we'll go through some examples. Google, as an example of corporate innovation, they had this wonderful policy called 20% time policy. They encourage their employees to spend 20% of their working hours, that is 1 day out of 5-day weeks, into projects that they were passionate about. So, and it has to be at the core of the value of the company also. So I mean, the policy was that, okay, you work on some projects that you are passionate about, but in the long run, those particular passionate projects should be aligned with the policy of the company so that in future we can come up with some products from that particular innovation. So the employees were very happy, and you'll be surprised, as I said earlier also, that Gmail was born out of this 20% time policy. It's an amazing product, Gmail. And similarly, AdSense, one of the best case studies in terms of revenue generation from online business is AdSense. That also came through this 20% time policy. So you can understand, this kind of small tweaks in corporate innovation that can give you so much of benefit. I mean, Google's one of the best source of revenue is AdSense, and every day everybody is using Gmail, so it's their cash cow. So now coming to corporate innovation with the example of Google, even though it was a 20% time policy and it looked like some sort of disruption in the corporate innovation example, but still it was highly structured. The way of developing that particular product, way of doing the research and development, selecting the particular team for those particular innovations, the innovation budget for those kind of things, they were all structured, and they were all checks and balances and stage gate processes were there in that. So Google actually, Alphabet, the parent company's name, Google is the brand name. Now they have become a company itself. So Alphabet actually spent around $27.5 billion annually on R&D, and that is the data a couple of years back, 2021 data, making it one of the biggest R&D spenders in the world. So you can imagine the kind of money that they spend on innovation, $27.5 billion annually for research and development. And what they are saying that, okay, you can fail fast. You can fail, not fast. You can fail within this particular corporate innovation structure. So they give you money in a way that there are various checks and balances, and you have to follow that particular process. But still, they are going to spend around $27.5 billion for those particular corporate innovations. And what they want basically is that in the long term, you should be coming up with some particular product that is aligned with the products of the Google. So you can see that there is no problem of cash here. There is a structured program. You have to follow protocols. There are stage gate processes. Hierarchy decides how to take the particular project to the next step or not. And this allows actually Google to innovate at scale, because there are multiple projects, these kind of small projects that are going on within the corporate ecosystem of Google, and within the world actually several units are working on various products. And even if 1% success rate is there, and it goes through all the processes of corporate innovation structure, then they're okay with that. I mean, even if one product comes up every year or even every couple of years from Google and it becomes a blockbuster, you can imagine that Google's business will be roaring. So nobody is going to question that. Yeah, it's very difficult for a company to come up with one innovative product that will be a blockbuster every year. So let's assume that every couple of years something big comes out of Google or maybe some other multinational companies. So this way, this kind of corporate innovations take place. And this is just one of the examples. Most of the multinational companies actually work like that only. So now taking the example of Zepto in details, as I told, how many of you actually use Zepto? I hope most of you have tried Zepto. And if you can put it in the chat box, how many of you use, that would give me a good idea that how you are acclimatized to the startup ecosystem. I mean, it's a day-to-day delivery app. I don't know whether it's there in your place, but in Delhi NCR, it's a hot app. I mean, 50% of the time I order from Zepto. The products are delivered exactly on time, and it's a very good delivery app. So let's take the example of Zepto. As you can understand, it's a quick commerce startup delivery app. So it's a startup that has delivery app of grocery, and now they are actually moving on to other products also within that thing. So they are segmenting into high value products also, like jewelry, high quality electronics and all those things. So how they disrupted the traditional grocery delivery services? By using a very, very integrated app system. And they had this asset light system that they didn't own the inventory or the warehouses. So it was the grocery store itself. They had onboarded some people who had their own bikes, and they had this app with them. Of course, the other version of the app, the delivery people's app. And moment an order came on Zepto, so the artificial intelligence in the app actually directed them to that particular store nearby to that particular ordered location. So they could actually get those orders quickly and then deliver it to the person who had ordered. So this is a hyper local strategy, what you call, within a 1 kilometer radius sort of thing, hyper local delivery application. And they face lots of problems. They had several problems at the instant. Many times the app used to hang up. There were some, hacking issues also, but they kept on iterating on that particular thing. So they came up with better versions of that particular app. They made it more user-friendly. They made it more attractive. They allowed people to put their advertisements. So some of the aspects of that used to flash. So they are coming up with lots of iterations and innovative, aspects to that particular app at this moment. So I should not call it an app; it's a product at this moment. So they are doing quite good at this moment. They have been funded over $1 billion right now, billion with a B. So they have very good grievance redressal mechanism also. So whenever there is a complaint, their artificial intelligence actually asks for some photographs. And of course, every other app is also doing, but they have also very, innovation aspects into that, so that the image captured or the video captured or the voice captured, it actually analyzes whether it's true or not. And they do some, fact checking with the delivery people. And then within a few minutes, that dispute is resolved and the money is refunded to the customers. So customers are happy also. And this is also an innovation aspect because they are using artificial intelligence to go through those particular images. Even the chatbots, you think that somebody is actually talking behind the complaint chat box, but usually, mostly, of course, if there is an escalation of that particular complaint, the human beings will actually intervene, but they are at the back end of the chatbots. But most of the routine things, complaints, are being taken by the artificial intelligence. So you can see that there are no bureaucratic constraints in this particular system, like the large corporates. They have the agility, and that is the hallmark of all innovation. They can quickly iterate on that particular product. They can quickly decide on taking this changes into the product. The team is always there to take decisions. Everybody, there is a flat structure, so the founder is always there, the technical team is always there, the marketing team is always there, and the advisors are always there. Even the funding agencies are also there sometimes to check what are the things that are limiting their progress. So you can see that even though there are limited resources in the beginning, if the startup is doing well, slowly and slowly they will get the funding, and they will keep on growing. Even after having some stress, initial stress, they will keep on moving forward. So now we can actually compare the process of innovation of these two structures of innovation approaches. So you can think that the term called stage gate process, as I was talking for the last few minutes, that think of an algorithm, think of the processes that are involved in innovation, and think of that flow chart where there is a decision-making tree. Every step has a decision-making tree, whether to stop that particular development or take it further based on the information from that particular level. So if you have iterated on particular product and you think that that particular product is not going to work out, for example, the data that is coming out at the stage 3, you think that this particular project is not going anywhere. The managers at that level are going to take a decision, and that is called the stage gate process. At every stage gate, there could be a kill or go switch. Kill switch means stop this particular project, forget it. Or go means go to the next stage. And again, this is a hierarchical process, and it is taken by the corporates. Then at each stage gate also, and overall stages of this particular innovation process, there are multiple approvals by the hierarchical approach of the management. So if the product is being developed at the R&D center, the head of the R&D will decide whether to kill it or not. First level of approval is by the R&D head. Then it goes to the senior managers. Then it goes to the founding members. The founding members will discuss with the shareholders, because in corporate, one of the biggest hindrances is the shareholders, because shareholders in the meetings, they'll always ask for maximum profitability. So this way, the approvals of particular innovation processes actually limited by these kind of things also. So multiple approvals is required at every hierarchical stage, and at every stage it could be either a go or no go sort of signal. Then what do you mean by long development cycles? So in corporate innovations, they are not worried about whether you are getting out a particular product or not, because they already have lots of money coming through their star products. So in a way, they have to be assured that their brand value is okay, that their customer base is okay, that their customer base will increase, that their previous customer base will not be disturbed, then their shareholders are happy. Everything has to be okay, then only that particular product can be taken to the market. So you can understand that what kind of products might come out of it, and it will take years for that new particular product to come out because of this kind of checks and balances. Whereas in the startup, what do we have? As I said about the Toyota, they have the lean methodology. They develop a minimum viable product. A minimum viable product is basically, in classical sense, something which will pay for itself. So if you are taking a particular product whose cost price is 100 rupees, and you are actually going to the market and getting back that 100 rupees. So you have a minimum viable product, so that all the money that you have spent on developing and taking a particular product to the market, at least you are getting back that particular money back from the sales. That is one of the definitions. Of course, there are other minimum viable product definitions, but this is the simplest way of defining a minimum viable product. So startups focus on building a minimum viable product. That is their focus, and that is also a part of lean methodology. They focus on customer feedbacks, because their customer is the king, and since they have very small amount of customers in the initial phases, so they are very much focused on their customers' feedback, so that they can come up with a better product as soon as possible, because they can break the rules, they can take risks, and they can come up with the decision very quickly, so that they can have better iterations of that particular product. Now, developing a rapid prototyping is also one of the hallmarks of startup ecosystem. So what is rapid prototyping? It could be testing ideas with a 3D printed object. It could be a small prototype to test in, for example, you are developing a new kind of wheel that is airless, a wheel that is having no air in it. Actually, Goodyear is actually working on this particular technology at this moment. But then from a startup point of view, if somebody is iterating on that particular product and they're getting customer feedback, and somebody is saying, no, I want this particular kind of feel from this particular wheel of the car. So they can quickly iterate on that particular prototype. They can do a 3D printing of that particular rim and come up with some, different kind of combination of the material of the rubber, and then come up with a particular product that actually fits their customer. So they have rapid prototyping aspects into that, and they can quickly pivot. That means they can quickly start working on the change that is coming from the feedback. So as I told that, some startups, if they are working on a particular product and there is some kind of feedback from the customer, they want some tweaks into this and they think that those particular customer is actually representing their entire customer base, so they can quickly pivot on that. So these are the hallmarks and the differences in the corporate approach in innovation and startup approach in innovation. Then comes resource allocation. This is very important. What do corporates do? They have a dedicated allocation of resource. They have a dedicated innovation budget. What does it mean? It means that corporates always keep a separate fund or separate budget for R&D and innovation of their particular company. And it's usually around, some percent, not more than 10% of their budget into the R&D. So you can see the difference between the resource allocation of corporates and startups. Startups are always at the mercy of, funding agencies or, angel investors and all those people. But these people already have, the beginning point is that they have a dedicated budget for them, which is sometimes good, which is sometimes bad. But I mean, it's an open debate. Then they have internal funding also. So sometimes what happens is that not just the innovation budget, but some of the founders or senior managers, they can also put in some money from their own funds that can actually work on separate projects. And so there is no need of external fundraising from angel investors or funding agencies and banks or loans or something like that. So there is always availability of innovation budget and internal funding. Then comes, there are multiple projects that run in a corporate innovation system. Usually startups have 1 or 2 projects running, but in a corporate ecosystem, there are multiple products and there are various teams dedicated to developing multiple projects. And there is some amount of crosstalk also, but then it is limited by the stage gate process. Right? Every project is actually decided on next stage by the hierarchy of the managers. So this is a very important difference between startups and corporate, that corporates are actually working on several, usually hundreds of product development processes or product improvement processes in terms of innovation projects that is always going on. So even if like one succeeds out of 100, they are always safe. But for startup, it's a make or break situation. They have 1 or 2 products and either one of them has to succeed. Usually it's one product. They have a long-term focus also, the corporates. They can invest in long-term projects that can take even 5 years, 10 years sort of thing, because they see the way the trends in the industry that is going. So they, for example, Google is actually working at this moment on, you must have seen that quantum chip that they are developing. So Google is not expecting any returns at this, in the next 3 to 5 years. But they know that the entire industry is shifting towards quantum computing because it will be adding enormous value to their dedicated customer base. And if they can put that particular that chip's power into the cloud, it will be a game changer for the entire world. So they know that there are long-term focuses and they work on these kind of long-term processes. Now coming to the startups, I mean, I've talked again and again that, they have limited budgets. They have limited or almost no capital of their own. They always try to get funding from here and there. It could be either small government grants, it could be small angel investment fundings, and it could be friends and family rounds also. So that's that, and they have to be very frugal for this kind of funding, because if they are getting 10, 15, 20 lakh rupees from somebody, so they are answerable to them also all the time. So they have to be very innovative, they have to be very frugal, and they're always dependent on the external funding. And external funding, as I said, it could be angel investment, it could be venture capitalists, it could be family offices of the businesses, the big business houses. And they have their core product focus. What is that? That means they have their 1 or 2 products. Let's say that they have only one product and they have to focus entirely on that particular product. every 360-degree aspect of that particular product. They have to focus on that. And they are absolutely, they have to make it absolutely sure that that particular product, when it goes to the market, it has the attributes so that it will become a success and their target customer will buy it. And they don't have any long-term, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year sort of life cycle thoughts. They have short-term survival strategies. Whether my product will go to the market, whether it's a product market fit is there or not, whether my customers, my target customer will buy it or not, whether I'll have an MVP or not. Post MVP, I'll think about scaling. I'll think about growing to the next stage. I'll think about getting funding from angel investors. It could be, initial stages I have put in around 20 lakhs. I want to get the 20 lakhs back from the selling of my particular product. Then I'll think about angel investment of 50 lakh rupees. That 50 lakh rupees, the angel investor will think that, okay, I'll make it around 1 crore out of that 50 lakh I have invested. Then moment that 1 crore is realized, then the startup will think about, okay, I'll raise now around 3 crore rupees. Now I'll put my sales, to up to 6 crores. So this way you can see that there is a survival strategy first. So short-term survival strategies, and what you call the valley of death. Moment you have crossed the valley of death, that is the initial stages of the growth of the particular company, then only you can see the light of the day for startups. So these are the quite different things that you have to think about, the resource allocation of corporates and startups. This is a very important thing because without resources, you cannot survive. Now, coming to this example of Tata Motors, all of you know about, Tata Nano. It was marketed as the world's cheapest car. The moment I say the cheapest car, you see how the branding was totally lost. It was a beautiful product. It had so many amounts of innovations into it, but then they marketed it as the world's cheapest car. So you can understand that what went wrong because of the hierarchical processor, because of inability to understand the psyche of the customer. So they came up confidently with a product that had all the attributes of good product, but it was marketed in a very different way as the cheapest car. Of course, there were some quality issues also that should have been addressed at the initial stages. But sometimes corporate innovations, they have everything to it, but products do not succeed. I remember another case from corporate innovations. If you remember, Maggi once started with some basmati rice flavors and some other kind of tweaks into their core selling product Maggi, and their sales started plummeting. Then after few months, after several months, they again came up with the the campaign, ad campaign. They said that ab sab kuch pehle jaisa, everything like it was earlier. So you can imagine that how corporate innovations actually sometimes fail even after long cycles of innovation processes. So moment they did that particular thing, Maggi, that ab sab kuch pehle jaisa, again their sales started increasing. So that was an amazing case study. So all of you should try to read that particular thing, Maggi ab sab kuch pehle jaisa, how it came into existence. So it's a very good case study for corporate innovation thing, and how they went back to their original product so that they could survive again. Now coming back to the Tata example, the structural innovation was a very structured innovation, and they structured in the sense that it had followed all the corporate innovation strategies. It had all the checks and balances. It had all the stage gate processes into it. Hierarchy actually approved it, and then their global supplier chain also actually chipped in, because so many new products, new sort of nuts and bolts and various tools of this particular car that had to be sourced from various suppliers. So entire supply chain was actually involved in developing this particular product, and they thought that the brand reputation was going to be okay, but then Tata, what they thought, the customers actually had a different kind of mindset about Tata products, but the kind of product that they came up with, the brand reputation of bringing this kind of cheapest car into the world, that was a mismatch. So they probably the brand they leveraged, that was not in matching with this particular the product that they developed. But sometimes there are hits, sometimes misses. Every big corporations at some point or the other, they make big mistakes. That's okay. But then again, Tata came up with Nexon. Tata came up with several other electric vehicles, and they are doing so well that they have made up with the losses and all those things. So this is some of the examples of corporate innovations, and how certain products fail, certain products actually succeed, and there are sometimes misses, sometimes hits. Then I come to a startup innovation example. That's a very good case study. Bharat Pay. It's a fintech startup. You must have heard about Ashni Grover. So he was earlier associated with it. He was the founding member of that, but then later on he had to leave. And it's a QR-based payment solution. So what they did, they had very frugal way of developing this particular product. There was not much innovation in terms of the application, but they had this rapid merchant onboarding sort of USP, unique selling proposition. What they did was that they focused on the merchants. So people who were selling products, they focused on the merchants first and started onboarding them, and then they gave them lots of freebies and all those things, so that they could develop that particular product and share that particular the goodies of the particular products by a word of mouth with other merchants, their fellow merchants, and that way those particular that particular product become a overnight sensation. Features were very fastly updated. So many. I remember one of the key features of this particular thing is that which nobody even thought about. Ashni Grover's genius was there at that moment. Was that they introduced something called, if you keep the money overnight or maybe a couple of days, so they'll provide you with some amount of interest money for that. So whatever the merchant is paying to you, you keep it overnight or a couple of days, then you get some interest on that particular amount, and then you can put it back to your bank. So that was one of you can understand that how this kind of new features were added, which nobody even thought about. That if you keep the money that has been transacted and you keep it for a couple of days with Bharat Pay, they'll give you more money than that you have earned from the customers. So these were an example of fast feature updates. They developed a community-driven approach. What was that? As I said, that usually a merchant is sitting in a market and there are lots of shops nearby, hereby, thereby. So those people are actually discussing that, okay, this is a QR-based app and I'm getting very good service from it. And moment they could onboard a few people, like they had some incentives. If you get in a couple of other people through your link that you send to them, you get some benefits from that. So they developed this particular model that was focused on the merchants first. Of course, others people could actually use it, but then they focused on merchant on ground, and they had a community-driven growth market model for that. And they segmented their particular product in this way because that market of QR-based payment was already very much saturated with various players at that time. But then they focused on this, merchant onboarding and community driven growth. Now comes how the risk is managed by corporate innovation sector and startup innovation sector. Of course, corporates, they try to minimize the risk. Corporates will always focus on minimizing the risk because they are already making so much money. They have their customer base. They have their good office around the world. They have their brand value. Why would they risk so much? So they always try to minimize the risk. Of course, they'll think about innovation because innovation is the key to survive in the market, because your other multinational company will come up with a more innovative product that adds more value to the customers, so they can just chew into your market. So you keep on innovating, but they minimize the risk in terms of lowering the risk as much as possible during the innovation process. So that is the key difference between corporate and startups. How does it happen, the risk mitigation? Okay, they have to go through the brand value. They have to go through all the compliances, because a big company cannot put some bad effect on the environment. So they have to take care of the environment also. They have to follow all the ESG policies. environmental safety policies. They have to go through all the corporate due diligence processes so that nothing is wrong with their accountancy. So these kind of checks and balances are there. So they have to mitigate the risk first while developing this kind of corporate innovations. Then, as I said, it's compliance driven. So all the compliances, be it technical compliance, be it accountancy compliance, be it regulations of the industry, they have to follow everything because there is a brand value and there are loyal customers there, and they are answerable to lots of big people. So they have to protect their reputation, their brand value, and they have to manage the expectations of multiple stakeholders. As I said earlier, you have to always cater to your shareholders, because ultimately shareholders are going to decide the fate of the company, of the multinational companies. So if there is a resolution, a board resolution of the shareholders that they want this kind of thing, that kind of thing, first of all, you cannot actually irritate the main shareholders. Second, you have to follow what the shareholders say. If they say that, okay, no innovation product in this particular sector, so you have to follow the shareholders thought processes. Then they have to keep their employees happy also. There are thousands of employees there, and there are HR policies also, HR rules are there. You cannot put in startups, they are working day and night. You cannot force the employees in multinational companies to work like day and night. So that is one of the the reasons why there is difference between corporate innovation and startup innovations. And startups are actually very frugal in this kind of thing. They can work long hours, and they have to the corporate have to focus on the customers also, because they already have loyal customers. So they cannot come up with a product. For example, I'll give you an example, maybe it will become clear. Think about Dettol, the Reckitt and Coleman company. So if they come up with a rice brand, chawal. So if they come up with some rice brand, do you think that will go align with that particular corporate's innovation sector? So you have to think about product lines. So you can only work in terms of the image of the particular company, in terms of the loyal customers that you have already. You can take slight risks, but then you cannot deviate too much from that particular sector that you are already in. So you have to be mitigating the risks. You have to be compliance driven. You have to protect your reputation. You have to make your stakeholders happy, and then you have to think about the corporate innovation. Now coming to the startups, risk management processes. Okay, they take risks. They know that failure is the part of the process, and they are willing to take risk, and they want to fail fast. They want to quickly pivot on their particular mistakes. So if there is a feedback on a particular product, okay, this is not working, please come up with this particular thing, and they see that, okay, there is some logic and rationality in there, they'll definitely come up with that particular tweak. So they have the capacity of pivoting very quickly, because it's a small team. There are not many hierarchies and decision making. So they quickly learn from their failures, and they come up with a better iteration of that particular product very quickly, without depending on decision making trees or hierarchies of management and this and that. They quickly pivot on the actual requirements, and they learn from that particular failure and quickly come up with a better iteration of that particular product. Now comes the customer approach of this particular two sectors. What is that? Corporates, as I said earlier also, they have existing customer base. They are having a large customer base. They have established customers who are buying their products on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. And they can actually, the corporates, if they are innovating, they can actually leverage new products and try it on their own base customers, provided they are not taking too much risk in disturbing the customers with their earlier product. So they already have existing customers. So for example, if you have Unilever, they are selling so many soaps. So you can imagine if they, on one fine day, the company decides, the management decides that, okay, we'll come up with a sandalwood pure sandalwood soap. So yes, I mean, they can do the R&D. They have their, stage gate sort of processes. There are hierarchical decisions. They're not disturbing their customers. Customer base already existing. Their product line is also not, getting disturbed, and it is within their particular, product line. So yes, they can actually develop that particular product and take it to the existing customer base. So this is how, corporates have a customer approach. And they develop this particular new product also based on these kind of things only. So they always think about their existing customers, and they rely heavily on the market research to understand the needs of their customers. So they cannot, falter very in a rash way. So they cannot come up with a particular product that has no meaning, that has, that can fail, and they can lose the money and their reputation based on that. So they always have to rely on their brand image also. So they do very thorough market research based on questionnaires, based on, psychological analysis of their customers, this and that. So they will always have to do the market research to not disturb their already existing customer base, or maybe new customers, which can actually align with their the image of the particular company. Next comes the brand loyalty. So they already have loyal customers. They don't want to, disturb that brand loyalty, and they want to develop particular products that actually increase the brand loyalty, or within that particular loyal brand customers, they can iterate on that particular product to some extent, so that they can come up with a new product within that brand loyalties brackets. So they offer wide range of products and services within those particular sectors. As I said, the example of Unilever coming up with a sandalwood soap, maybe that they can do with their loyal customers of soap. Maybe the Dove soap, people who are taking, luxury segment soaps from Unilever, they can come up with a particular iteration of the particular soap that can cater to the Dove people. And yes, there could be some disturbance to the brand loyalty of, people who are buying Dove, but then they can actually manage it, because they know that there will be some people who are experimenting with the new sandalwood soap. So they know that the sales of the Dove will not get disturbed in the long run, but the new product will be successful also, because slowly and slowly, moment you get, their brand loyal customers, happy with the sandalwood soap, the word of mouth actually catches up, and the soap will get sold in various other customer segments also. Then comes the customer approach in startups. What do? They focus on discovering their customers, because it's a chaotic situation for the startup. They're starting with scratch. They don't understand the market at the initial instant. So they have to understand their customer. They have to do the discovery of their particular customer. They can distinguish their particular product into a niche. That is what the startups do. They want direct feedback from their customers. They want to know everything about their customers, because they are very important for them. Their target customers for the startup is a make and break situation for them. If you have a product market fit for a startup, and that comes through understanding your customer, then you have a game set and match for the startup. Whatever the customer needs, if the startup can come up with that particular product, and there is actual sales of that particular product, that's what a startup needs. This is the way developing a model of a customer discovery and direct feedback from these startups. Then they always focus on early adopters, because startup products are disruptive. So they always look for the unique kind of customers. What kind of customer will try to adopt new particular kind of products? For example, when Riva car was there, the small car, electric car that was there, Riva many electricals, they were a startup at that time. Of course, it was later acquired by Mahindra, but they had this early adopters focus, many. So they developed a database of customers who are unique, who can actually take risk of buying an electric car and running it on actual roads using an electric vehicle. So they actually worked on early adopter focus sort of customer model. So this is a very good example where many motors from India, they actually had done the research on who could be the early adopters of those kind of electric vehicles. And I'm talking about, 10, 15 years back, maybe more than that, 15, 20 years back sort of, studies. So then they always focus on single products because, in early stages of a startup, you don't have enough, money to waste. You have a small team and you are highly focused on a particular kind of product, which you are thinking about day in, day out. So there is always single product focus, unlike, multiple product lines of the corporates when you are thinking about the customer. So whenever there is a startup, they will think about their one single particular product and they want to have a very unique way and very, due diligence wise done customer discovery of their particular product. They want to exactly know what the customer needs, who could be the early adopters, and who has this kind of, experimentation sort of thought process in the customer base, who can come up with the bold decision of buying a disruptive product. Now coming to some corporate innovations example, Reliance Jio is one of the great examples. So they were into telecom disruption, as you know. They came up with the Jio fiber and small sort of handsets. They disrupted the telecom industry. They provided affordable data plans and free voice calls for some time when they initially started. How was it made possible? It was made possible by first of all, they created a massive infrastructure investment that the risk that they took, because they had confirmed through their market research that yes, it's going to work, and they had their backing from Reliance Industries. So they took the giant leap and they put in everything that is possible to disrupt that area. So they used the Reliance Industries success to just put everything possible into this particular sector, because they understood that the sector is going to grow. They made massive infrastructure investments and they had the backing of their founders, and they developed what you call a market dominance strategy. Now, what is that? That shows that nobody else is going to come when they have put in so much amount of money. They want that their particular product is sold to whatever amount of customers that they had decided. So they were willing to give free voice calls for some time also, but they wanted their particular market share to come up very quickly. So they want to disrupt that particular customer base, and they want to dominate that particular thing, so that moment that customer is acquired, they want to keep hold of that particular customer for the long time, and that is market dominance strategy. So this shows that how corporates actually use their previously existing resources to dominate a market, and it highlights actually the challenges of also maintaining the dominance, because it's a very massive money related thing of dominating that particular segment. Of course, now Airtel and other players have come up, so they are also giving a good competition to other people. But then way the Reliance came in with the innovation, this is a classic example of corporate innovation. Of course, initially they came up with the massive investment in the Jio fibers, what you call the optic fibers, and then within that investment, then they came up with this disruption of this particular industry. Then we can talk about startup innovation example. Then how they came up with this particular execution of this particular innovation. Cred, C-R-E-D, Cred is one of the most successful fintech startups. So they came up with a credit card plan. So there were already so many players in the credit cards ecosystem. What was the unique thing that they wanted to do? So they, very intelligently, what they thought, let's focus on ultra high net individuals, high worth individuals, people who are having liquid money of more than 100 crores. They had the database, or maybe 250 crores. So high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals. There are various criteria of defining high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals. So that way, they targeted that particular segment. They they segmented their particular product in such a way that they will provide a reward-based model to their customers, and they will earn points as whenever they're using their credit cards and whenever they're paying their bills on time. So it could be airlines miles, it could be hotel booking sort of points. So these kind of things were given to them, and it was a very successful model. And word of mouth, community driven growth was again used. So high net worth individuals actually have clubs, they go and visit the clubs and all those things. So the word of mouth actually spread, and the kind of rewards that they provided to those who are paying the credit card bills on time, that actually spread, and the premium customer focus was actually very helpful in segmenting their particular product in that segment. So this is a classic example of startup innovation, CRED. It was very successful model. Now, what comes is that what are the success criteria? Matrices means success criteria that corporates and startups think about when they're deciding, okay, this is success for me, this is success for me. So what are the criteria for success for various corporates and startups? So for corporate, it is usually, not always, but usually return on investment. So whatever project that they are putting in, they always think about, okay, I'm putting in 100 crore rupees. I want investment of this amount of particular percentage. So whatever amount they have put in, whatever the product sells will be compared to the investment, they have a ratio sort of thing. And there is a small formula for that, return on investment. So usually they think about 25% return, 30% return on investment. So this kind of things that they have the metrics in their mind when they're thinking about success criteria. Then they think about, okay, what would be my market share? Whether am I disrupting my own particular segment or not? Whether my loyal customers are getting disturbed or not? If there is a new customer, what would be the market share? Whether my existing market customers, whether that particular share is going to increase because of this new product or not. And they already have good revenues. What would be the delta change in the revenue growth because of the new product? So these are the kind of matrices. Then of course the brand value, whether the new product that we are launching, whether it's adding to the already existing brand value of the product. As I said, I mean, if you think about, again, Unilever, they already have good kind of soaps. Now they think about coming up with a medicated soap for skin diseases. So you can understand that, okay, the brand value is already there, and that particular product, it makes sense. Okay, you can just enter that particular segment, and that will add to the brand value that already they are making good quality soaps, and now they are coming with a medicated soap. So that adds to the brand value of that corporate. And then for startups, again, they are into a frugal system. They have to focus on acquiring customers as soon as possible, as fast as possible. Then they focus on growth rate. I mean, what is the month on month, week to week, or quarter to quarter growth rate of the startups? So growth rate in terms of acquiring customers. It could be amount of sales of a particular product. It could be change in the revenues. Then they focus on what you call the burn rate. So burn rate is nothing but how much money you are spending and what is the cash flow. So the amount of money that you are spending per month, either, I mean, all inclusive, whatever is your burn rate, amount of money that you are burning in terms of the amount of people you're giving salaries, the amount of money that you are making to develop a particular product and take to the market. And then of course you have to focus on the cash flows. So if you are spending 1 crore per month, that is your monthly amount of money that you spend on all the expenses of a particular company. That is your burn rate. And then you have to focus on the cash flow also. By spending 1 crore, how much cash flow is coming because of the sales or some other value addition that you are doing. So you have to focus on growth rate in a startup and burn rate of a particular startup. And then whether my particular product is fit in the market or not. So if I am having a particular product in medtech, whether I'm going into the right sector or not, whether I'm targeting the hospitals or not, whether I'm targeting the the patients or not. This kind of product market fit analysis has to be there, whether my product is going to the actual customers or not, whether my product is actually required by that particular customer on ground or not. Okay, I have developed this particular product. It's a very good medtech product. It's a very good diagnostics sort of kit, but whether it's getting used in a particular hospital setup or not, whether their competition is chewing into my stuff or not. So that product market fit has to be analyzed, and people have to tweak. I mean, if there is a pricing point problem, if there is some branding issues, if there is some discrepancy in the accuracy of that particular product's output, so you have to quickly analyze and mitigate the risk by quickly iterating on that particular product, what you call pivot, and come up with the solution for that. So these are some of the success matrices of corporates and startups. Now, what is the culture of innovation in corporates? Of course, corporate, as I said, they are always process driven. What is that? They have structured processes for innovation. So they have checks and balances. They have particular style of working. They have particular protocols that, okay, this is the way we will do the innovation. There will be teams. They will follow this amount of time, this amount of money, this amount of people can be in that particular program, and they can develop that particular product in this sectors and this amount of time. The teams are structured. So, I mean, you do not get novices for that. You're specialized, people. Usually the scientists are actually reassigned for innovation, and with clear roles and responsibilities, they are given assigned those particular things. Then there are, knowledge management sort of thing. They capture on sharing the knowledge across the organization. So whatever the learning that they are getting from innovation or from the market or whatever it is, that is shared across the board. And when the decision is taken by everyone on the same page, everybody has decided, okay, we can go ahead with this particular product. Then there is a knowledge management, and then based on that, the innovation is actually taking place. So this is the innovation culture of corporates. Then comes the startups. I mean, it's a very frugal environment. There is, a sense of always experimenting with the product. Risk-taking model is there. Every day there are feedbacks from the customers, and you are iterating on that particular product. There are, teams are very cross-functional. So, one people can be doing 2 or 3 things. 2 or 3 people are actually, collaborating with other teams also. If there is, 10, 20 people in the particular startup. So they wear multiple hats and work together across functions. So somebody who's working in the, marketing, he or she is actually working on the technical aspect also of that particular product. So, they learn on the go. So the feedback coming from the customers, they're discussing amongst each other. There is discussion within the teams. They are getting complete feedback from the marketing person. They are getting feedback from the technical person, from the market, or there are some price issues. So it's always, it's a chaotic situation, and it's a good chaos to be in. And they are learning on the go for developing the particular product to the finished product. That is the innovation culture in the startup ecosystem. So now that we have understood, how corporates and startups are actually different from each other, how do we get the best of the both worlds? Of course, they should collaborate, and you have to learn from each other. How do you collaborate? Now, there is a good trend that corporates are now setting up their innovation labs. What do you call the acceleration programs? What do you call the corporate venture capitals? I mean, providing capital for those kind of, corporate innovations. And they are starting to work with startups. So what is an acceleration program? Essentially, it's a call to solve a particular problem. That problem is essentially a problem that is beneficial to the corporate. Now, they are floating that particular problem and asking a cohort of startups to come up with a solution to that particular problem. And in lieu of that, they will provide funding to those particular startups. And at the final stages of the product development, they might actually take the technology transfer of that particular product also and integrate that particular product into their multinational company. So this is a corporate acceleration program. That is a very good thing that is happening nowadays. So corporates come up with the problems in their sector, in their particular company, and they request a call in the form of an acceleration program. They ask for startups to come up with solutions to that, and they conduct that particular acceleration program over 6 months or 1 year, and the startups are groomed to come up with a solution for that, and they come up with frugal solutions. So this is the best of both worlds. So there is the stability of the corporate ecosystem as well as the frugality of the startup ecosystem. So acceleration program with a corporate venture capital is the best thing that can happen in this particular innovation sector. What happens is that there is an exchange of knowledge also. What is the exchange of knowledge? For example, a startup has already done some groundwork before joining that acceleration program, and they actually lack how this particular thing will scale. Now the corporate knows how to scale things, whereas the startup knows how to come up with a frugal product. So there is a knowledge exchange between the company, corporate company, and the startup. So the startup is getting benefit in understanding how to scale things, whereas the corporate actually getting that how to come up with a frugal innovation for that particular problem that they had floated the acceleration program for. So this is an amazing thing that can happen, and I think one of the key takeaways of this particular presentation is that how do we have the best of both worlds, and that can only happen through corporate venture capital based acceleration cohorts. So what are the key takeaways? Both these models of innovation, they have benefits, they have their merits, they have their unique strengths. Corporates have resource, they have scale, while startups have agility and creativity. What works for a corporate may not work for a startup, and vice versa. That is the context that we are talking about. Then there is a hybrid approach that is emerging. Many companies are now adopting hybrid models that combine best of both worlds, as I talked about the acceleration model. And of course, the future definitely is collaboration. There are so many companies like Samsung or Pfizer or even Hero. They're all coming up with this kind of corporate innovation programs, acceleration cohorts, and where startups are actually encouraged to apply and develop the solutions to the problems. And that's where they can work together and drive the innovation ecosystem. And the ultimate beneficiary is the citizens of the country or the world. So this is the key to understand the strengths and weaknesses of of each approach and find ways to leverage both the innovation ecosystems effectively. Future trends, of course, open innovation. I mean, again, by open, I mean that, corporates have a boundary wall. Startups also live in a room. So what open innovation means that anybody from the, country who is having the skills and understanding of that particular sector. So moment a call is there, not just the startups, not just the corporates, but anybody, any citizen who is qualified and having the skills and understanding, he or she can actually collaborate. So there is an open call sort of thing. Anybody who can come up with a solution, not just the startups, or even startup teams can be formed by inviting some citizens from a particular university or some institute. So there is a collaborative environment all the time, and this is called open innovation. Anybody who is having the solution, they can come and join the team and then start working on it. Then digital transformation, of course, artificial intelligence, machine learning, quantum computing, even humanoid robotics. These things will be, very, very important in the coming age, and everything has to be digitized. And this kind of integration of, this new technologies is going to be very important. And of course, the sustainability angle has to be thought about while developing these kind of things. Nowadays, data centers for artificial intelligence and all those things, the energy crunch is there. So we have to come up with solutions for those kind of energies. Maybe fusion energy is one of the things that is in the horizon, and many startups are coming up with this kind of things. They should come up with, innovative solutions, small, frugal fusion reactors, or maybe fission reactor also, that is modular or small kind of things that can provide 1 gigawatts or maybe 500 megawatts sort of power. And that takes care of the sustainability approach of it. And then ecosystem approach, definitely, collaborate with all the stakeholders so that everyone is benefited. And what you call the Ubuntu model, that if it's beneficial to everyone, then only we should proceed. Otherwise, we should not proceed. And ecosystem, I mean, if there is Mother Earth, then only we will survive, then only we can have profits, then only we can actually enjoy the fruits of the profit. If the environment is bad, and air is bad, water is bad, food is bad, and people are dying, there is no point of having money and becoming rich. So there has to be an ecosystem approach. So with that, I'll come to the, the MCQ sections. And now I would request some of you to, unmute. And I've kept this MCQ with the answers because I'm going to discuss why this is the correct answer. And I want a debate from you people. What characterizes corporate innovation? So the MCQ 1 is what characterizes corporate innovation out of these 4 components. So if somebody can come up, open their mics and tell me why B is the right answer. Anyone? Because we'll quickly finish it, because I'm already at 2.5 p.m. So I have to wrap it up. So if any one of you can just unmute and tell me why B is the right answer. Hello, am I audible? Hello, am I audible? If somebody can just come up. So I'm already at the MCQ level 1. Any one of you, any teacher? Anyways, so corporate innovation is resource rich. So out of these 4 things, so we have the resource rich as the best answer. Then for MCQ, hello. Anyways, MCQ 2 is what are the key startup innovation trait? So out of these 4, rapid prototyping is very important because multiple approvals are not required in startup. Large R&D setup is not there for the startup, and too much market research is not required for the startup. So rapid prototyping is best for the startup innovation trait. Then Google's Gmail was developed through 20% time policy. So out of these 4, it is not acquisition, external consultation, customer demand. It's usually 20% time policy. And this is a famous example of Google's innovation strategy. Then MCQ 4 is which approach is typically used by startups? Stage gate process is for corporates. Lean startup methodology, Six Sigma, waterfall model. Six Sigma is again a hallmark of big companies having multiple processes. Then waterfall model also for corporates. So it's lean startup methodology. So you have to be frugal. You have to see that very less amount of wastage is there. Everybody is collaborating, and the innovation is at every step of the development. Then success metrics for startup, essentially it's growth rate, because market share, they are not bothered about market share at the beginning stage. Brand value is for the corporates, and return on investment is also, again, as I discussed, is for the corporates. So the correct answer is growth rate. So with this, I'm done with the presentation, and I'm very much happy to take up a few questions if there are any questions. So there is one question in the chat box. The chat box question. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So the chat box says that company has to keep on doing innovation. Which function of the business is focused the most for innovation?
No, actually, I want to ask that nowadays, see, every company has to do innovation. Means continuous innovation is the one we can say function,
Yes.
an important term for the to remain stick in the market.
Yes.
But which part, or we can say which part of the function of the company has to be more focused? I mean, so we can say sales or production or R&D. Oh, sorry, not R&D, but other thing, HR. So which part has to be more focused? That I want to ask.
Okay, so there are various percentage, depends on the multinational companies, what you call memorandum of association, so it varies from the multinational to multinational. So they give some certain percentage of weightage to various segments. So it could be either 10-15% of the resources for human resource development. Then research and development is also around 10-15%. Then sales, of course, sales has the biggest amount of crunch. So it varies from company to company, and it depends on what is the timing, what is the new environment that you are entering, a particular new country that you are entering as a multinational. So it all depends on the stage and the situation of that particular multinational company. And there are various percentages that is allocated for every single thing. Then to answer your question, definitely what really matters at the end of the day is sales. So how do you do the sales? Of course, you stay ahead of the competition by developing new products. And how do you develop new products? It's through innovation. So certain percentage of your money and resources has to go into constant innovation, but majority has to go to sales.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is anyone question from the participant side? Hello? Participant asked to any question to sir? Okay. Then I propose my vote of thanks. On behalf of our HRDC and all participants, I extend really hearty vote of thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Saikat Chattopadhay sir, who spared time from his busiest schedule to grace the occasion. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future events. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. The session is over now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you,
All
sir.
participants join session 3 p.m. Thank you, sir.